Chapter 990. Greetings, Demon King, Demon Queen. Seeing Yi Fan and Umoji arrive at the 9th floor Demon Palace, the two palace maids who were wiping Tenmoni's body immediately bowed to the two. Brother Yi? Moji? The topless Tenmoni turned his head to look at the two and asked, Big brother, I have something to discuss with you. Yi Fan went straight to the point. Seeing that Yi Fan had something to say, Tenmoni immediately said to the two palace maids beside him, You may leave first. Yes. The two palace maids replied in unison, bowed and left. What happened to make the two of you so anxious? After the palace maids left, Tenmoni put on his black and gold robe and asked the two of them. Umoji raised her head and looked at Yi Fan. Yi Fan sorted out his emotions and told Tenmoni everything that Ishuehan told him. Tenmoni smiled and slowly sat down on the 7-jewel throne that was shrouded in the aura of treasures. He raised his hand and gestured for the two of them to sit down. The two of them came to the emerald jade seats and slowly sat down. Big brother, is there any way to find this person? Yi Fan asked Tenmoni. Tenmoni was the supreme being of the demon realm and ruled over thousands of demons. According to their ranks, the old man who had become a demon in his heart should be under Tenmoni's jurisdiction. It was because of this that he hurried back to the demon realm and asked Tenmoni for help. It won't be difficult to find this person. Tenmoni picked up the glazed teacup and said to Yi Fan with a smile as he sipped on his tea. Big brother, do you have a way? Yi Fan asked Tenmoni with a joyful expression. You've already entered the 5 great demonic pools, so you naturally have the 5 great demonic eyes. Tenmoni put down the glazed cup and smiled. As long as you gather the 5 great demonic eyes and condense them into the heavenly demonic eye, you'll be able to see through all demonic spirit. Even if that old man has the heart demon divine ability and can transform into anything, he still can't escape the 5 great demonic eyes. Tenmoni already knew about Yi Fan entering the 5 great magic pools. The moment Yi Fan returned to Night Demon Peak and entered the Devil's Pool, he, who was attending a banquet in the demon realm, had already sensed it. If I combine the 5 demonic eyes into the heavenly demonic eye, I can see through this person? Yi Fan was overjoyed. Tenmoni smiled and nodded. Demon Lord, even if Yi Fan can use the 5 great demonic eyes to see through this person's transformation ability, where can we find him? Umoji asked Tenmoni. That's easy. I'll give you the Myriad Demons diagram. Tenmoni smiled. Myriad Demons diagram? Yi Fan asked in confusion. Umoji was also shocked when she heard it. Moji, tell him. Tenmoni looked at Umoji and said with a smile when he saw the confusion on Yi Fan's face. The Myriad Demons diagram is the demonic realm's treasure passed down by the Demon Lord. Umoji turned to Yi Fan and explained solemnly, this treasure can sense the 10,000 demonic spirits. As long as it's someone from the demonic realm, they'll have their location on this diagram. Even if the other party ascends to the 9th heaven and the Lingshao Hall, they won't be able to escape from this diagram. What a Myriad Demons diagram! After listening to Umoji's explanation, Yi Fan was immediately overjoyed and exclaimed in surprise. With the 5 great demonic eyes and the Myriad Demons diagram, it would be a piece of cake to find the old man who impersonated him. But, Umoji hesitated. But what? Yi Fan asked. Only the Demon Lords have the right to use this treasure. Other than the Demon Lords, no one else can touch it. Umoji continued. As she spoke, she turned to look at Tenmoni. Hearing Umoji's words, Yi Fan stood up from the jade seat and knelt on one knee in front of Tenmoni. Thank you, big brother, Yi Fan said as he cupped his fists and bowed to Tenmoni. In order to help him find the demon, Tenmoni had made an exception and lent him the heavenly demon diagram. Here we go again. Tenmoni stood up and helped Yi Fan up. He smiled and said, Since time immemorial, there have been many demon lords in the demon realm. However, your brother Yu is the only demon lord. To be honest, you're much more important than I am. There's no harm in using the myriad demons diagram, Tenmoni said as he patted Yi Fan's shoulder with a smile. Big brother. Yi Fan was so touched that he couldn't say a word. He knew how strict the rules of the demon realm were. Since time immemorial, no demon lord had ever broken the rules set by the demon lord. Moji, take my token and go to the demon treasury pavilion to retrieve the myriad demons diagram, Tenmoni said as he took the demon lord token from his waist and handed it to Umoji. Compared to Yi Fan's blood demon token, Tenmoni's demon lord token was more domineering. Just like Yi Fan's blood demon token, Tian Moni's demon sovereign token was also blood red in color. However, Yi Fan's blood demon sovereign token was square in shape. On one side of it was the word blood demon, and the other side was the word command. On the other hand, Tian Moni's demon sovereign token was completely different. This blood red token was shaped like a flame. The flames burned brightly and looked very lifelike. On the front of the token, the ancient seal, demon, was engraved on it. The strokes were vigorous and domineering. On the back of the token, a blood-red skull was engraved. The skull was round and smooth, with a high forehead and ghastly teeth. It was roaring. In between the skull's eyebrows, the word swastika was engraved. The entire token glowed with red flames and a treasure aura rose. Yes, Demon Lord. Umoji took the token with both hands and turned to leave the demonic palace. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Umoji pushed the door open and entered with a jade box in her hand. The box was completely made of a single piece of jade. It was more than 10 inches long and 3 inches wide. It was flawless and had an ancient design. On the box there was a golden seal. On the seal there were some red runes written on it. Demon Lord, Umoji said as she handed over the Demon Lord token and the jade box with both hands. Tenmoni kept the token and held the jade box in his hand. Buzz, the moment it touched Tenmoni, a layer of soft green light enveloped the jade box. Whoosh, as the green brilliance faintly glowed, the red runes on the golden seal instantly disappeared. Brother Yi, this is the 1,000 Demons portrait. Tenmoni handed the jade box to Yi Fan and said with a smile. Yi Fan carefully received it with both hands. Open it and take a look, Tenmoni said with a smile. Yi Fan nodded and tore open the golden seal. He slowly opened the box. Buzz, the moment the box was opened, dozens of bright green lights shot out from the box and into the sky. Yi Fan was already used to such a scene. The 1,000 Demons portrait was a treasure that only the Demon Lord had the right to use. Naturally, it was filled with treasure aura. When the green lights completely dissipated, Yi Fan looked at the treasure box. Inside the treasure box, there was a folding fan with a demonic spirit lingering around it. A folding fan? Yi Fan asked. He reached out and took out the colorful folding fan from the treasure box and looked at it carefully. The folding fan was completely made of green jade. Other than the jade, there was nothing else. It looked like a complete piece and was extremely exquisite. At the end of the folding fan, there was a small blood-red pendant. The pendant was a very exquisite blood-red skull. It was colorful and dazzling. This is the 1,000 Demons portrait? Yi Fan looked at Tenmoni and asked. That's right, this is the 1,000 Demons portrait, Tenmoni said with a smile. Other than the Demon Lords, all the Demon Lords are on top. You can open it and take a look. After Yi Fan heard that, he slowly opened the fan in his hand. Buzz, the moment the mountain of treasures opened up, countless dazzling lights of various colors shot out from the folding fan ribs. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple, black, white. 9 colors intertwined and were extremely beautiful. When the treasured fan was fully unfurled, Yi Fan was stunned. On top of the fan, there was a picture of 9 mountains and rivers. The 9 mountains were stacked on top of each other and looked magnificent. The most steep mountain in the middle was the Demon Realm's Night Demon Peak. On top of the 9 mountains, there were countless specks of light scattered all over. The specks of light were densely packed. Some were big, some were small, and some were of different colors. They were constantly moving around the 9 mountains. The entire treasured fan shone brilliantly, illuminating Yi Fan's handsome face with brilliance. Yumoji's beautiful eyes widened as she looked at the beautiful fan in Yi Fan's hand in shock. Although she had heard of this fan, she had never seen it before. This is. Yi Fan looked at Tenmoni and asked in shock. The specks of light on top are the demon realm, Tenmoni explained to Yi Fan. A speck of light represents a demon realm. The size of the speck of light represents the demon realm's cultivation level. The color of the speck of light represents the type of demon realm. The demon realm is divided into black, red, green, blue, and yellow. Other than that, they are all external demons, which are the demon realm. What about the inner demons? Yi Fan asked Tenmoni, what's the color of the inner demons? Green, Tenmoni replied. After Yi Fan heard that, he immediately looked at the surface of the fan. With one look, Yi Fan frowned. On the surface of the fan, there were no less than hundreds of green light fragments that were randomly moving and flashing on the surface of the fan. In other words, there were hundreds of inner demons in the world. This picture of 10,000 demons has many abilities. It can show all the demon realms. Take a look. As Tenmoni spoke, he reached out and took the 1,000-demon fan from Yi Fan's hand. He waved his sleeve at the surface of the fan. Buzz, with a flash of brilliance, the specks of light on the surface of the fan changed instantly. On the surface of the fan, there was nothing else except for the hundreds of green specks of light. This is the location of all the inner demons, Tenmoni said. Swoosh. As he spoke, he waved the fan again. Buzz, the specks of light on the surface of the fan instantly turned into black, red, green, yellow, and blue. This is the demon realm. Look, Tenmoni pointed at the huge speck of light on the fan and said with a smile, this 5-colored speck of light is you, Brother Yi. Yi Fan nodded slowly. This fan was indeed full of functions. Chapter 991. The next morning. Jade Palace, Jade Flower Pavilion. Before the sun had even risen, Yi Fan had already sat up on the spacious jadeite bed. Looking at Yumoji lying next to him, Yi Fan smiled bitterly and shook his head as he recalled the night before. The power of extreme desire in the Desire Devil Pool made him unable to stop himself last night. He had been tossing and turning for half the night. Sigh. Yi Fan let out a long sigh in his heart. He tucked Yumoji in and tucked a strand of her silky hair behind her ear. Then, he lifted the blanket and got out of bed. Yumoji, who was sound asleep, had a flushed face. Her beautiful eyes were tightly shut. Her beauty was unparalleled. After getting up, the naked Yi Fan began to put on his clothes. You're leaving now? Yi Fan was putting on his clothes when Yumoji's voice came from behind him. Sleep a little longer. I have to go back to the Lingyun cave. Yi Fan turned around and walked in front of Yumoji as he tied the jade belt around his waist and spoke. It's not dawn yet, Yumoji said sleepily. She wrapped her arms around Yi Fan's waist and pressed her beautiful face against Yi Fan's body. In an instant, the brocade blanket slipped off silently. Yumoji's body lay on the ground again. Looking at Yumoji's boundless beauty, Yi Fan swallowed and put the brocade blanket back on Yumoji's body. If this continued, the power of lust in his body would stir again. I have something to do. I can't accompany you anymore. Yi Fan patted Yumoji's shoulder and said, Yumoji nodded slowly. At this moment, in the Lingyun cave, Akatsuki, dressed in red, was preparing breakfast for Yi Fan in the kitchen. She was busy as she recalled the scene where Yi Fan hugged her tightly and kissed her passionately. When she thought of that scene, Akatsuki's heart could not help but beat wildly. At that moment, time seemed to have stopped. At that moment, her heart seemed to melt. If it weren't for the fact that Yi Fan was surrounded by evil aura and had lustful eyes, she probably wouldn't have stopped Yi Fan in an instant. Akatsuki's face turned red. In the hall, Baihu, Xiao Zhao and Fire Kirin were gorging themselves on the food on the stone table. Baihu rushed to the stone table and ate the various pastries that Akatsuki had personally made for it. The Fire Kirin, on the other hand, was munching on a large pile of fruits on the stone table. With the Fire Kirin, Baihu Xiao Zhao seemed to have found a playmate. In the days that Yi Fan wasn't around, it would always stick to the Fire Kirin. To Baihu Xiao Zhao, this big guy with flames on its body had a surprisingly good temper. No matter how mischievous it was, the Fire Kirin would always accompany it. It was never impatient. There was even one time when Baihu used its claws to lift up a dragon's scale on the Fire Kirin to see where the flames on its body came from. The Fire Kirin didn't even flare up. It only turned its head to look at Baihu. It was a Fire Kirin and was famous for its fiery temper. If it were anyone else, even their 3 souls and 7 spirits would have been burned away by it. In just a few months, the Kirin and the fox had formed a deep friendship and were inseparable. Just as the Kirin and the fox were gorging themselves and Akatsuki was letting her imagination run wild, a huge red door of light appeared in the hall. The silver-haired, black-robed Yi Fan slowly walked out of the door of light. After Yi Fan walked out, the door of light slowly closed and gradually disappeared. Roar! The Fire Kirin let out a deep dragon roar and walked slowly toward Yi Fan with its thick and powerful limbs. After arriving in front of Yi Fan, the Fire Kirin stretched out its neck and placed its huge head in front of Yi Fan. Yi Fan smiled and patted the Fire Kirin's forehead. Wu, seeing that Yi Fan had returned, Baihu jumped lightly from the stone table and onto the Fire Kirin's back. It trotted on the Fire Kirin's back and directly reached the top of the Fire Kirin's head. Then, it jumped into Yi Fan's arms. Yi Fan reached out and stroked Baihu's smooth fur with a smile. "You're back." After hearing the sound from the hall, Akatsuki immediately walked out of the kitchen. She said to Yi Fan as she took off her apron. Yi Fan put Baihu on the ground and replied. Akatsuki poured a cup of hot tea and handed it to Yi Fan as she asked gently, "What did you do in the demon realm? Why did you take so long to come back?" "I have a way to find the guy who impersonated me." Yi Fan took the hot tea and sat down on the stone chair as he spoke. "You have a way? What way?" Akatsuki sat down next to Yi Fan and asked. Yi Fan put down the teacup and told Akatsuki what happened. "I didn't expect there to be such a secret treasure in the demon realm." After listening to Yi Fan, Akatsuki praised. "If it weren't for your reminder, I'm afraid we wouldn't have been able to find that demon." Yi Fan said to Akatsuki with a smile. "I just said it casually." Akatsuki said. "Is there anything to eat? I'm hungry." Yi Fan looked at Akatsuki and asked with a smile. "In the demon realm, there is a life of luxury. Why, didn't the Demon King have breakfast in the Demon Palace?" Akatsuki asked Yi Fan with a smile. "No matter how delicious the food in the demon realm is, it's not as good as what you make." Yi Fan looked at Akatsuki with a mischievous smile and said, "Smooth talker." Akatsuki pursed her lips and said with a smile. She stood up with a smile and took out some pastries and wine from the kitchen and placed them in front of Yi Fan. Yi Fan began to wolf down the food. Looking at Yi Fan eating, Akatsuki smiled knowingly. Yi Fan liked to eat the food she made. This was something she especially enjoyed. In the future, when she wasn't by Yi Fan's side, she wondered if he would remember this taste. Perhaps he would. "Eat slowly, no one is fighting with you." Akatsuki picked up the teapot and filled Yi Fan's stone cup with fragrant tea. "In the demon realm, I only drank with the demon lord and didn't eat much," Yi Fan said as he took a big sip of tea. "If you have time, I'll teach you how to make some dishes. In the future, when I'm not around, you can make them yourself." Akatsuki said softly with one hand under her chin. Her words made Yi Fan, who was sipping his tea, stop immediately. He slowly put down the teacup and looked at Akatsuki with a frown. "You're leaving?" Yi Fan asked Akatsuki. "Didn't you tell me before that when you saved your wife's true soul, you would let me return to Dongying?" Akatsuki looked at Yi Fan with a smile and asked gently. Yi Fan looked down and didn't say anything for a long time. He had indeed said something like that. If you don't want to leave, then don't leave." Yi Fan looked up at Akatsuki and said intermittently. "If I don't leave, why would I stay in the great Ming dynasty?" Akatsuki stretched out her slender hand and slowly drew circles on the edge of the stone cup in front of her, as she said quietly. Yi Fan didn't say anything. "I'm a woman. If I'm a woman, I have to marry and have children." Akatsuki continued to draw circles on the edge of the cup. "I can't die alone." Yi Fan still didn't say anything. "Once you save your wife's true soul, I'll return to Japan and find someone to marry. Then, I'll take care of my husband and children and live the life of an ordinary person for the rest of my life," Yuki Hongji continued. "Who are you going to marry?" Yi Fan frowned and asked Akatsuki. "I'll listen to Master." Akatsuki smiled and said, "I'll marry whoever Master wants me to." "You're going to marry a guy like Yamamoto Chiyao?" Yi Fan's tone was full of questions. "Don't you have an old saying? If you marry a chicken, follow the chicken. If you marry a dog, follow the dog." Akatsuki took a deep breath and then exhaled heavily. "I've accepted my fate in this life. You can find someone who likes you." Yi Fan lowered his head and said, "The Crown Prince likes me. Do you think I should marry him? Be the Crown Princess?" Akatsuki stared at Yi Fan and asked. Yi Fan was silent. "Those who like me like my beauty, including the Crown Prince." Yu Hongji picked up an upside-down stone cup from the tea tray on the stone table, then picked up the wine jar on the side and filled the stone cup to the brim. "If I hadn't taken off my veil, would the Crown Prince like me? Not at all." As she spoke, she picked up the wine cup and drank it in one gulp. "Not all men are greedy for looks," Yi Fan said in a low voice. "Is that so?" Akatsuki put down the wine cup and asked Yi Fan with a smile, "Is there such a man in the world?" Yi Fan took a deep breath. He wanted to say something but stopped. "Even if there is, it won't be my turn." Akatsuki smiled and filled the wine cup again. "Instead of this, it's better to find a man and go with the flow." "You're ruining yourself." Yi Fan looked at Akatsuki, his eyes full of heartache. "If I'm ruining myself, then so be it. Some things are destined from birth." Akatsuki smiled and said, "In order to save your wife, you entered the devil's pool and became a devil. Isn't that ruining yourself?" As Yu Hongji spoke, she drained her cup once more. "This is different," Yi Fan replied. "How is it different?" Akatsuki looked at Yi Fan with drunken eyes and asked with a breath reeking of alcohol, "You did it for love, I did it for love, what's the difference?" Yi Fan couldn't answer. He picked up the wine jar on the table, put it to his mouth and drank it. The amber 100-blossom intoxication flowed down from the corner of his mouth. Yu Hongji smiled and picked up the other jug of 100 flowers drunk, and poured it down her throat. Two infatuated people who loved each other but didn't dare to love each other, just drank without saying a word. Baihu and Fire Kirin were stunned by the scene in front of them. These two guys were talking and laughing just now. How did they suddenly become two drunkards? Are they addicted to alcohol? Clang. After drinking the entire jar of 100 blossom drunk, Akatsuki fell heavily on the stone table, unconscious. The wine jar in her hand fell to the ground and shattered. This 100 blossom drunk was a wine that had been aged for hundreds of years and had a strong aftereffect. Akatsuki drank a whole jar, so of course it was not strong enough. Chapter 992. When Akatsuki woke up, it was already past noon. "You're awake." Seeing Akatsuki open her eyes, Yi Fan, who was sitting beside the stone bed, asked. "Yes." Akatsuki replied and slowly sat up on the stone bed. She reached out and pinched the space between her eyebrows. Her beautiful eyes were tightly knitted, and she had a splitting headache. Wine isn't supposed to be drunk like this. Yi Fan placed his hands on Akatsuki's temples and gently massaged them as he said, "You're drinking 100 flowers intoxication, which has been aged for hundreds of years. It's not your Japanese sake. The way you're drinking it will kill you. If it weren't for your profound spiritual power, you wouldn't have woken up even after 3 days and 3 nights." Buzz, as Yi Fan spoke, his hands glowed with red light. He was using his heavenly demon power to help Akatsuki get rid of the alcohol. In an instant, the alcohol in Akatsuki's body was completely dispelled by Yi Fan's spiritual power. His head, which was still groggy a moment ago, gradually became clear. "You're still talking about me." Akatsuki looked at Yi Fan and said gently, "Didn't you also drink jugs by jugs? You might not be able to do what I can do." Yi Fan continued to gently massage Akatsuki's temples and smiled. His body was forged by the combined efforts of the Moon Phoenix and the Spirit Phoenix. In addition, he also had the power of the 5 great demonic pools. At this moment, even if a blade or an axe hacked at him, it would not be able to do anything to him, let alone a mere alcohol. Akatsuki bit her lip and didn't say anything. "Are you feeling better?" Yi Fan asked Akatsuki. "Much better," Akatsuki replied. "Here, drink this bowl of millet porridge to warm your stomach." Yi Fan picked up a bowl of fragrant millet porridge from the stone table and handed it to Akatsuki. "You made this?" Akatsuki took the bowl and asked Yi Fan in return. "If I didn't make this, did you?" Yi Fan smiled and asked Akatsuki. Akatsuki rolled her eyes at Yi Fan, then opened her mouth and slowly ate the porridge. The porridge was sticky and fragrant. Akatsuki ate it and felt warmth in her heart. "After you finish your porridge, come out with me." Yi Fan looked at Yu Hongji, who was quietly eating her porridge, and said, "Out? Where?" Akatsuki asked Yi Fan. "Let's go out and walk around. While we're at it, we'll look for that guy who impersonated me." Yi Fan laughed. "Don't you have the painting? With this treasure, wouldn't it be easy to find that impersonator?" Akatsuki asked, puzzled. "Although I have the 10,000 demons painting in my hands, it will still take a lot of time to find this person." Yi Fan said to Yu Hongji with a smile. "I just checked with the 10,000 demons painting. In the human realm, there are a total of 13 inner demons. If I want to know which one is the one who impersonated me, I will have to go through them one by one." 13 inner demons. That many? Akatsuki frowned. "It's not that many." Yi Fan smiled. "You must know that there are hundreds of inner demons in the 3 realms. It's already not bad that there are only 13 inner demons in the human world." "That old man is one of the 13 inner demons?" Akatsuki asked. Yi Fan nodded slowly. "How do you plan to find him?" Akatsuki continued to ask. "We'll start from the nearest one." Yi Fan explained, "There are still 3 days before I start cultivating the proud moon heavenly scripture. In these 3 days, we'll go from the nearest one to the farthest one. If we can't find him in 3 days, we'll return to the Lingyun cave. You'll stand guard while I cultivate. If we find him in 3 days, we'll kill him." "I'll listen to you." Akatsuki nodded and said. 2 hours later, the two left the Lingyun cave. They stepped on the auspicious clouds and soared into the sky. "Where are we going first?" On the auspicious clouds, Akatsuki, who was holding Baihu in her arms, asked Yi Fan. Yi Fan took out the fan of 10,000 demons from his sleeve and opened it with a snap. Buzz, the treasured fan, emitted a green light, which then dimmed. Akatsuki looked at the surface of the fan. On the surface of the emerald fan, 13 green dots of light flickered. They slowly swam around the 3rd peak of the 9 mountains and rivers map. "These 13 green dots of light are the 13 inner demons?" Akatsuki asked. "Correct," Yi Fan replied. "Then the 9 peaks above?" Akatsuki continued to ask. These 9 peaks represent the 9 realms. Yi Fan said to Akatsuki. 9 realms? Akatsuki asked in confusion. The 3 realms of heaven, earth and man, the 3 realms of devil, monster and ghost, and the 3 realms of Buddhism, Taoism, and divinity are collectively known as the 9 realms. Yi Fan explained. Then the tallest peak in the middle must be the Buddhist realm, right? Akatsuki asked Yi Fan. In the 3 realms, the Buddhist realm reigns supreme. In Akatsuki's opinion, the tallest peak in the middle must represent the Buddhist realm. You guessed wrong. That peak represents the demon realm, Night Demon Peak. Yi Fan said to Akatsuki. Demon realm? How is that possible? Akatsuki asked with a frown. Did you forget? This is a treasure of the demon realm. Of course, the demon realm reigns supreme. Yi Fan smiled. Akatsuki came to a sudden realization and slowly nodded. Then what about you? Where are you on the map? Akatsuki continued to ask. What do you think? Yi Fan asked Akatsuki. It must be this. Akatsuki pointed to a huge 5-colored dot of light on the surface of the emerald fan. Smart. Yi Fan scratched Akatsuki's nose and said with a smile, after half an hour, the 2 of them arrived in the air above an extremely bustling town on the auspicious clouds. Yi Fan stopped the auspicious clouds and looked at the treasured fan in his hand. At this moment, the 5-colored dot of light representing Yi Fan and one of the azure dots on the surface of the emerald fan had completely overlapped. This meant that there was a mental demon hiding in the town beneath Yi Fan's feet. Let's go down, Yi Fan said as he urged the auspicious clouds to descend rapidly. Should we disguise ourselves and hide our auras? Yu Hongji turned around and asked Yi Fan, her red robes fluttering in the wind. No need. Yi Fan looked down and calmly said. If we don't do that, what if he discovers us? Akatsuki asked with a puzzled expression. I can't wait for him to discover us. Yi Fan calmly said with a smile. Why? Akatsuki asked. Yi Fan didn't directly answer Akatsuki's question. Instead, he asked a question of his own. If you were him and knew that I came to find you, what would you do? Of course I would run away, Akatsuki said to Yi Fan. Yi Fan turned around and looked at Akatsuki. The corners of his mouth curled up, but he didn't say anything. You mean? Yi Fan's smile instantly shocked Akatsuki. As long as he escapes, the treasured fan will definitely react. At that time, I can directly lock onto him. Yi Fan said with narrowed eyes. What a brilliant method! What a profound scheming mind! After listening to Yi Fan's explanation, Akatsuki immediately prostrated herself in admiration. He was right. If the inner demon below wasn't that old man, he naturally wouldn't keep a respectful distance from Yi Fan. On the contrary, he would kowtow to Yi Fan. If the inner demon below saw Yi Fan coming and immediately ran away, there was no need to guess. It must be that old man. As long as the inner demon escaped, there would definitely be a rapidly jumping green light spot on the treasured fan. At that time, Yi Fan only needed to use his movement skill to lock onto the inner demon according to the position on the treasured fan. Then, he would be able to capture and kill the inner demon. This move was called beating the grass and alerting the enemy. Yi Fan was becoming more and more like an old fox. Akatsuki thought to herself. She still didn't understand why Yi Fan had become like an old fox. It was because the Een Devil's power in his body had started to take effect. The Een Devil's power would make a person become murderous and sinister. Whoosh! Chapter 993. The alley was made of green bricks and gray tiles, and was extremely narrow. At most, it could accommodate 2 people walking side by side. After putting on her veil, Akatsuki and Yi Fan slowly walked out of the alley and onto the main street. It was already afternoon, and the main street was crowded with people. It was very lively. Judging from the people's attire and the many shops on both sides of the main street, this town was very wealthy. The common people lived and worked in peace, and their days were peaceful and peaceful. The lively scene in front of her put Akatsuki in a good mood. It had been a long time since she went shopping with Yifan like this. Baihu, who was lying in her arms, stared with a pair of round eyes. It looked left and right, and its eyes were filled with curiosity. Yifan, on the other hand, activated the 5 great demon eyes. They condensed in his eyes, and he constantly sized up the crowd around him. He didn't come here to shop, but to find that mental demon. However, when he saw it, the scene in front of him immediately shocked Yifan, and his brows furrowed tightly. His expression changed slightly. Under the vision of the 5 great demon eyes, the true appearance of all the living beings on the main street was revealed. The reason why he used the term living beings to describe them was because not all of the common people on the main street were human. The one dragging her tail, wearing heavy makeup, and haggling in front of a rouge and powder stall was a fox spirit. The one with the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear, holding a large machete and chopping meat in front of a meat table, was a wolf spirit. The one with the white paper fan in his hand, dressed in scholarly attire, and strolling around the main street was a wild dog spirit. The one with the large and burly body, hammering iron in the smithy, was a bear spirit. In addition, there were many other living beings that Yifan didn't know the names of. Some of them had protruding teeth, and their bodies were covered in black gas. Some didn't have a physical body like smoke or fog. There were also some with a pair of wings, and their bodies were suffused with blue light. They were like the legendary Yikshaws. While Yifan was observing them, they also turned their heads to observe Yifan. Yifan did not conceal his spiritual pressure and aura, so it naturally attracted their attention. The fox spirit with heavy makeup was casting flirtatious glances at Yifan and winking at him. The wolf spirit who was selling meat in the store was baring his white teeth as he looked at Yifan with vigilance. The wild dog spirit narrowed his eyes and leered at Yu Hongji, who was beside Yifan. He secretly swallowed his saliva. The grizzly bear spirit in the blacksmith shop was putting the fiery red sword in his hand into the water to quench it while he looked up at Yifan with an expressionless face. As for those illusory beings that were like smoke and fog, they all flew around Yifan and sized him up. In addition to these, Yifan also saw the netherworld's messenger of death dragging iron chains and detaining wandering souls. There were also fairy children and fairies who were slowly floating in midair, and the Earth City god who was sitting upright in the temple. Humans, demons, ghosts, demons, monsters, fairies, netherworld's messenger of death, beings of the 6 paths, everything was here. It's really lively here. Yifan surveyed his surroundings as he opened the jade fan in his hand with a snap. He was making his identity known. As the saying goes, one can subdue an enemy without a fight. Letting them know his identity could reduce a lot of unnecessary trouble. Buzz, when the jade fan opened, auspicious air rose and auspicious light surrounded it. The scene in front of them shocked the demons, ghosts, and monsters. Their expressions changed drastically. Even those immortal children and earth immortals were impressed by Yifan. The 9 mountains and rivers, the jade fan. The thing in the silver-haired boy's hand was actually the demon realm's most precious treasure, the 10,000 demon treasure map. This person was the demon realm's supreme being, Tenmoni. After seeing the jade fan in Yifan's hand, all beings were shocked. Phew, the misty fairies surrounding Yifan fled in all directions. The vixen who was eyeing Yifan also turned around and left quickly. The scholarly wild dog spirit closed his paper fan and lowered his head. He turned around and fled like a stray dog. The wolf spirit from the butcher's shop and the grizzly bear spirit from the blacksmith's shop immediately put down the things in their hands and bowed to Yifan. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. They thought that Yifan was Tenmoni. Because only the demon realm's supreme beings had the right to use the 10,000 demon treasure map. Yeah, I haven't been to such a lively place in a long time. Akatsuki scanned the dazzling array of items around her and said with a smile. She had no idea about the supernatural scene around her. Yi Fan waved the jade fan gently and smiled. After the time it took to finish a cup of tea, Yi Fan stopped in front of a jewelry shop. He turned around and looked at a woman in the shop with a pair of sharp eyes. This woman looked to be in her 30s. She wore a long pink dress and was adorned with pearls and jade. She was graceful and elegant and had an outstanding temperament. This woman's body was emitting a layer of faint green light. At this moment, she was standing behind the counter of the shop and was introducing an expensive jade pendant to a noble lady. It's her, Yi Fan thought in his heart. When Yi Fan was sizing up this woman also felt Yi Fan's tyrannical spiritual pressure. She slowly raised her head and looked at Yi Fan. When she saw Yi Fan's appearance and the Baihu in Akatsuki's arms, the woman's expression changed. Hongji, let's go in. Yi Fan closed the myriad demon treasure fan and walked into the shop called Emerald Antique Brook. Akatsuki understood and followed Yi Fan in. Seeing Yi Fan coming, the woman hurriedly came out from behind the counter and welcomed them. Are the two of you looking for jewelry? The woman warmly asked the two of them. We're just looking around. Yi Fan looked at the woman and said with a smile. This woman had a dignified appearance. Her skin was like cream and her figure was graceful and curvaceous. Coupled with her gorgeous dress and various jewelry, she could be said to be an absolute beauty. The two of you can look around as you please. The woman respectfully said to the two of them. Yi Fan smiled and sized up this jewelry shop. This shop was not big, but it had an antique feel to it and it was full of jewels. In the entire shop, other than the two young clerks, she was the only one. The woman arranged for the clerks to serve the noble lady while she followed behind Yi Fan and carefully served him. If the two of you do not choose, our shop still has two treasures. The woman smiled at the two of them. Is that so? Where are they? Yi Fan pretended to look at the jewelry on the counter and casually asked. The two treasures are in the storeroom in the back courtyard. If the two of you are interested, I can take the two of you to see them. The woman said. I'll have to trouble shopkeeper to lead the way. Yi Fan turned his head to look at the woman and said with a smile. Obviously, this woman wanted to talk to the two of them in a different place. Yi Fan naturally wanted to go with the flow. The two of you, please follow me. The woman said and turned to the back door behind the counter. The two of them followed closely behind. After passing through the long corridor and the back garden, the two of them followed the woman to a simple but luxurious wooden building. The woman served the two of them fragrant tea and placed some fruits. Shopkeeper, where are the treasures of the shop? Yi Fan picked up the fragrant tea and gently blew on it as he asked the woman. This subordinate did not know that the demon lord had descended. Please forgive this subordinate. The woman fell to her knees in front of Yi Fan, her forehead touching the ground as she respectfully said. What, do you know me? Yi Fan lifted his eyes to look at the woman kneeling in front of him and asked. As a member of the Devil Horde, how could this subordinate not recognize the Devil Monarch's holy appearance? The woman respectfully said to Yi Fan. The Devil Monarch fought against all the heroes during the Devil Extermination Conference, and no one could compare to him. Who under the heavens doesn't know about this? Rise. Yi Fan calmly said. Thank you, Demon Lord. The woman thanked him and stood up with her hands by her side. What is your name? How long have you been a demon? Yi Fan asked as he drank his tea. In reply to the Demon Lord, my name is Su Wanjin. It has been more than 500 years since I became a demon. The woman lowered her head and replied. How did you become a demon? Yi Fan continued to ask. Anyone who wanted to become a demon had their own story. My husband was unfaithful and took on a new lover. My mother-in-law poisoned me and wanted to kill me. I was lucky to find out and survived. Later on, to escape being hunted down, I entered the mountains to cultivate the demon Tao and became a demon. The woman bit her lips and replied. Yi Fan frowned and slowly placed the fragrant tea on the wooden table. Her husband was unfaithful and her mother-in-law poisoned her. Although it was only a few words, It was enough to make one shudder with fear. Even Akatsuki, who was sitting at the side, could not help but clench her fists. I didn't expect you to have such a hard life. Yi Fan said to the woman, Don't stand there, sit. This subordinate does not dare to sit in front of the demon lord. The woman lowered her head and said, Sit when I tell you to, Yi Fan calmly said. Thank you for the seat, demon lord. The woman slowly sat down opposite Yi Fan. After becoming a demon, have you killed anyone? Yi Fan asked the woman. Yes. The woman replied. Who did you kill? Yi Fan asked again. My husband, my mother-in-law, and the assassins they hired. The woman calmly replied. On the night I became a demon, I killed them one by one. I even destroyed their souls so that they would never be reincarnated. The woman's words shocked Akatsuki. This woman was truly ruthless. She did not even let off the souls. You killed them well. Yi Fan nodded and said, Exterminating evil, cutting the weeds and eliminating the roots. The woman raised her head and looked at Yi Fan with a face full of disbelief. According to the rules of the demon realm, after becoming a demon, one could only lure people into becoming a demon and was not allowed to kill. However, this demon lord actually said that she killed them well. She originally thought that Yi Fan would punish her for this. She did not expect that not only did Yi Fan not punish her, he even praised her. After taking revenge, what did you do? Yi Fan continued asking the woman. After taking revenge, I settled down here, opened this emerald antique brook, and lived an ordinary life. The woman said. In the past few hundred years, have you seen other inner demons? Yi Fan began to get to the point. I have. The woman replied. How many have you seen? Yi Fan continued asking. About 7 or 8. The woman replied. Among the inner demons you have seen, are there any that are more special? I mean, are there any that stand out from the rest? For example, one with a particularly powerful cultivation? Yi Fan asked. These people are all different from the rest. I can't tell. However, if we are talking about someone with a particularly powerful cultivation, there seems to be one. After pondering for a moment, the woman raised her head and looked at Yi Fan and said, Tell me about it. Yi Fan said. Half a month ago, a young man came to the store. He was also an inner demon. The woman recalled. According to my observations, not only did this person have a domineering demonic spirit, the spirit energy in his energy reserve was also not to be underestimated. I have seen so many demons, but I have never seen such a powerful person. Chapter 994. What does this person look like? Akatsuki asked. He always wears a white jade mask, so I can't see his face. However, his hair is silver white, similar to the demon lord's current silver hair. The woman looked at Yi Fan and said, That's him. Yi Fan narrowed his eyes and said. Akatsuki nodded. A white jade mask, a head of silver hair, a spiritual chi cultivation, and an inner demon. Who else could it be other than that guy who pretended to be Yi Fan? The demon lord is looking for him? Hearing the two's words, the woman immediately realized something. He stole my previous body, obtained my spiritual energy, and pretended to be me to commit crimes everywhere. Yi Fan said to the woman, I borrowed the myriad demon's treasure fan from the demon lord in order to find this person and kill him. Hearing this, the woman was shocked. This guy must have eaten a leopard's guts to steal the demon lord's body and pretend to be the demon lord. Does he want to die? How much do you know about this person? Yi Fan lifted his head to look at the woman and asked. He is a lecher. He once wanted to take advantage of me and asked me to follow him. However, I sternly rejected him. The woman frowned and said, Does he have a fixed place to stay? Yi Fan asked again. I don't know about that. The woman replied, However, I can smell a lot of cosmetics on his body. He must be frequenting brothels. Brothels? Yi Fan frowned and muttered to himself. He has at least a dozen different cosmetics on his body. If it's not a brothel's, what else could it be? The woman continued. Yi Fan slowly nodded. He already had an idea in his mind. Demon Lord, do you need this subordinate to do anything? The woman respectfully asked Yi Fan. You don't have to do anything. Just pretend that I've never been here, said Yi Fan to the woman. Also, if you see him again, treat him the same as before. Don't ever fight him. With his cultivation, you're simply no match for him. Do you understand? This subordinate obeys. The woman nodded solemnly. She was a smart person and naturally understood the depth of this matter. Although you have already entered the demonic path, I can see that you have a pure nature and have no evil aura around you. This is really rare. How about this, if you want to return to the demonic world, I can help you, Yi Fan said to the woman. According to the rules, without the permission of the devil realm, foreign devils were not allowed to enter the devil realm, let alone live there permanently. Yi Fan saw that this woman had a pure and kind nature, so he wanted to help her return to the demon realm. After all, compared to the human world, life in the devil realm was much better. This subordinate thanks the demon lord for his kindness, but this subordinate is already used to life in the human world. I want to live a peaceful life by myself and do not want to go anywhere else, the woman respectfully said to Yi Fan. This is your private matter. I have no right to interfere. After listening to the woman's explanation, Yi Fan nodded and said, But you have to remember, if you want to live in the human world, you have to abide by the rules of the human world. You cannot harm the common people or commit crimes. As for luring the common people into the demonic path, it is best that you do not get involved. Yi Fan's words caused the woman to be stunned. This person, as the demon lord, actually advised her not to lure the common people into the demonic path. If she did not hear it with her own ears, she would never believe that this sentence came from the demon lord's mouth. Luring the common people into the demonic path is not a good thing. You have to know that good and evil will eventually be repaid. Do you understand what I mean? Yi Fan continued. This subordinate understands. The woman solemnly replied. It was rumored that the new demon lord of the demon world was the reincarnation of Eldritch, who fought against the 6 immortals in the past. Now it seemed that this rumor was true. You are already an inner demon. Time will not affect you and your appearance will remain forever. This way, it will be easy for some cultivators to find out and cause trouble for you. How about this? I will leave you something that will ensure your safety. Come here. Yi Fan said to the woman. Although this woman had already entered the demonic path, her nature was not bad. If she was really discovered by some stubborn cultivators, she would not be left alive. He had to protect this woman's life, not for anything else, but for her rare pure heart. Yes. The woman respectfully replied and slowly walked in front of Yi Fan. Give me your hand, Yi Fan calmly said. The woman pursed her lips, stretched out her right hand and handed it to Yi Fan. Yi Fan stretched out his index finger, and with a thought, he activated the demon spirit. Buzz on Yi Fan's fingertip, black, red, green, yellow, and blue, 5 colors appeared. It was the demon spirit of the 5 great demonic pools of the demonic world. The woman was shocked. Under the woman's shocked gaze, Yi Fan's index finger straightened and gently moved in the woman's palm. Schwa, after a 5-colored light flashed, a 5-colored swastika character appeared on the woman's palm out of thin air. Right below the pattern, there were 2 ancient seal characters. Eldritch. This pattern was formed by me using the spiritual energy of the 5 great demonic pools. It can appear and disappear at your will. In the future, if an expert comes to find trouble with you, you can show this pattern to him. I believe that after seeing it, no one will dare to do anything to you. Yi Fan kept the 5-colored demon spirit and said to the woman, Thank you, demon lord. The woman knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Yi Fan to thank him. It was said that the five-colored demon spirit could only be cultivated by the demon lord of each generation. Now, this demon lord had gathered all of them. The five-colored swastika character represented the demon lord, coupled with the name Eldritch, who would dare to not give him face in this world. Remember, this thing can only be used to save your life. It can't be used for other purposes. You can't use this pattern to mobilize the other demons in the world. If I find out that you misuse this thing, I won't forgive you. Looking at the woman kneeling in front of him, Yi Fan warned. This subordinate will remember the demon lord's teachings. The woman prostrated herself on the ground and said, "Live your peaceful days. Remember to change your appearance and identity regularly. Don't arouse the suspicion of the people. We're leaving," Yi Fan said and flicked his sleeve. Schwa, after a burst of five-colored light flashed, Yi Fan and Akatsuki, who was holding Baihu, disappeared in an instant. In the hall, only the woman was left kneeling on the ground, dumbfounded. She looked at the five-colored swastika in her hand that was radiating with spirit light. Then, she bowed deeply in the direction where Yi Fan had disappeared. "Where's the next inner demon?" On the street, Akatsuki asked Yi Fan. "We're not looking for inner demons now," Yi Fan said with a smile as he strolled with his hands behind his back. "Not looking for inner demons?" Akatsuki was confused by Yi Fan's words. "Let's go, let's find a place to drink," Yi Fan said with a smile. "Drink?" Akatsuki was even more confused. "Drink what?" "Drinking wine," Yi Fan's lips curled up as he replied with a smile. In a short while, the two stopped in front of a luxurious and exquisite wooden building. The wooden building was decorated with painted pillars and carved beams. Colorful lights hung from the ceiling. It was extremely beautiful. On the plaque above the door there were 3 large golden words. "Drunken Dust Pavilion." "Ha ha ha, so annoying, come on!" Hee. Waves of unrestrained laughter could be heard from the inside. Isn't this? Looking at the luxurious wooden building in front of her, Akatsuki was stunned and tongue-tied. "Brothel." Yi Fan raised his head and looked at the scantily dressed brothel girls leaning against the railings. "Why aren't we looking for the guy who impersonated you? What are we doing here?" Akatsuki frowned and asked Yi Fan. She hated this kind of place the most. "Didn't I say, drink with girls?" Yi Fan smiled as he walked slowly towards Drunken Dust Pavilion. Hey! Seeing Yi Fan walking towards Drunken Dust Pavilion, Akatsuki shouted loudly. Brothel was a place for men. As a woman, how could she go in? What made Akatsuki even more fearful was that last time she was sold to this kind of place by that bat spirit. Akatsuki hated this kind of place to the extreme. "If you don't dare to come in, then stay outside and wait for me." Yi Fan didn't turn his head and smiled. Yi Fan's words made Akatsuki, who was under the veil, clench her teeth in anger. "This guy is using reverse psychology to provoke me. I'll wait." Akatsuki turned around and thought angrily. However, after a struggle in her mind, Akatsuki still turned around and quickly caught up with Yi Fan and walked side by side with Yi Fan. This guy is now a person with extreme lust, and the brothel is full of licentious prostitutes. What if this guy got possessed and started a fire with the prostitutes inside? "Why aren't you waiting for me outside?" Yi Fan turned his head to look at Akatsuki and asked with an evil smile. "I'm afraid some people are blinded by lust and can't keep their integrity in their late years," Akatsuki said angrily. "Don't worry, I'm not that kind of hungry person," Yi Fan said with a smile. Akatsuki's face turned red and didn't say anything. Just like this, the two of them slowly walked into Drunken Dust Pavilion. The moment the two of them entered, they immediately attracted the attention of everyone present. The gazes of the men were all focused on Akatsuki's body. Although Akatsuki was wearing a veil, her figure was tall and curvaceous. Her skin was like cream and her hair was like a flowing spring. Her pair of beautiful eyes were as bright as the stars and as clear as water. The men who came to this brothel to have fun were all lustful ghosts. Their eyes were very sharp. With one look, they could see that Akatsuki was a peerless beauty. As for the women in the brothel, their gazes were all focused on Yi Fan's body. Yi Fan was originally a dragon among men. The handsome bouffon, after going through so many things, his temperament had become even more noble. In addition to his cold as ice eyes, his silver hair like a waterfall, and his incomparably gorgeous 8-jewel jade embroidered robe, he was simply like an immortal that had transcended the mortal world. Of these two people, one was a peerless beauty and the other was a dragon among men. For them to appear at the same time naturally attracted everyone's gazes. In a moment, the previously noisy drunken dust pavilion became completely silent. Those who poured wine forgot to pour wine, those who poured tea forgot to pour tea. Even the brothel keeper, who was used to seeing handsome men and beautiful women, stopped fanning herself and looked at the two people with a stunned expression. Yi Fan stopped his steps and looked around at the crowd. Chapter 995. Get me a private room and prepare a table of good food and wine. Yi Fan stared at the stunned old Bao Zi and said, Okay. Old Bao Zi recovered and hurriedly replied. Yi Fan was dressed in a gorgeous brocade robe and looked like a wealthy person, so she naturally did not dare to neglect him. Two guests, please come upstairs, please come upstairs. The fat old Bao Zi politely came in front of the two and extended her hand to invite them upstairs. Yi Fan smiled and slowly walked up the stairs. Yu Hongji, who was holding the white fox in her arms, frowned and followed behind without saying a word. The other men and women were silently staring at the two with a face full of surprise. Bringing a woman to a brothel, this was the first time they saw it. Ding! In the process of walking up the stairs, a pearl hair clip fell from Yi Fan's arms and made a crisp sound. Yi Fan first looked down and then smiled and bent down to pick it up. The pearl hair clip in his hand was inlaid with a top-quality purple crystal and was overflowing with purple light. It was not an ordinary item. When she saw the crystal hair clip in Yi Fan's hand, Akatsuki suddenly frowned. Who did this pearl hair clip belong to? How could Yi Fan have such a thing? Umojis? Fujiwara no Chikos? Succubuses? Akatsuki could not guess. But no matter what, this thing must belong to a woman. And this woman and Yi Fan's relationship was not ordinary, otherwise Yi Fan would not keep this thing in his arms. Yi Fan put the pearl hair clip back into his arms and continued to go upstairs. Old Bao Zi brought the two to a very luxurious private room, and then ordered a table of exquisite and sumptuous food and wine. Young master, do you need me to find a few girls to accompany you? The brothel keeper picked up the wine pot and poured wine for Yi Fan as she said with a smile. Find a few good singers and dancers and perform a song for us to liven things up. Yi Fan looked at Akatsuki and smiled at the brothel keeper. Akatsuki's chest heaved up and down as she glared at Yi Fan with her beautiful eyes. This guy, not only did he want to drink brothels, he even wanted to find prostitutes to liven things up? Okay. I'll arrange it now. The brothel keeper said with a face full of smiles, turned around and left. If you want to drink, we can go to a tavern. Why come to a place like this? After the procuress left, Akatsuki questioned Yi Fan. Why are you so angry? Come, drink some wine to warm yourself up. Yi Fan smiled as he poured wine for Akatsuki. I'm not in the mood. Akatsuki reached out to cover the mouth of the wine cup and angrily said. Yi Fan smiled and put the wine cup back to its original place. He picked up the wine cup, put it to his mouth, and drank it. Good wine, Yi Fan said to himself with a smile. It could be seen that he was in a good mood. Akatsuki angrily looked at Yi Fan, not understanding what he was planning to do. Just as one of them was enjoying himself while the other was feeling displeased and angry, the door to the private room was opened. 8 beautiful girls in gorgeous clothes leisurely walked in. Among these 8 people, 4 of them were holding pipa, flute, and other musical instruments, while the other 4 were holding fragrant fans, colorful silk, and flowers. After entering the room, the 8 people bowed to Yi Fan. Yi Fan casually waved his hand and motioned the 8 people to begin. The 8 people divided up the work and began to perform for Yi Fan. There was the sound of pipa, flute, guqin, and ethereal jade flute. 4 dancers with curvaceous figures waved their fragrant fans lightly as they danced to the melodious music. Yi Fan poured wine for himself while smiling and tapping to the beat, enjoying himself. Akatsuki turned her head to the side to avoid looking. Ever since he entered the 4 great magic pools, Yi Fan became more and more unpredictable. Akatsuki was thinking in her heart, when a dancer swayed her snake-like waist and slowly walked in front of Yi Fan. She put her slender hand on Yi Fan's shoulder and slowly circled around Yi Fan. Then she directly sat in Yi Fan's arms. Yi Fan smiled and continued to pour wine for himself. When the dancer saw that Yi Fan was not moved, she used a pair of white jade-like arms to hook Yi Fan's neck. She gently raised her faintly discernible legs and then moved her head to Yi Fan's ear. She gently kissed Yi Fan. Ha ha ha! Yi Fan laughed and threw the wine cup on the table. Then he carried the dancer in his arms and directly walked towards the sandalwood screen not far away. This scene made Akatsuki, who was sitting at the side, unable to restrain her anger. Her eyes were spitting fire. This guy actually dared to do such a dirty thing in front of her in front of so many people. Yi Fan, what are you doing? Akatsuki slammed the table and stood up, angrily shouting. Hongji, do you want to join us, ah? Yi Fan, who was walking towards the screen, turned around and said to Akatsuki with a naughty smile. You're shameless. Akatsuki angrily scolded Yi Fan. Yi Fan ignored Akatsuki and directly walked behind the screen with the dancing dancer in his arms. Pitter-patter. Pitter-patter. Yi Fan's treasured robe and jade belt, as well as the dancer's colorful silk dress, were directly thrown out from inside. Immediately after, a series of lewd words came out from inside. Yi Fan's laughter was full of evil. The dancer's laughter was unrestrained. The erotic scene in front of them made the dancers, who were singing and dancing just now, immediately cover their mouths and laugh. They whispered to each other and occasionally let out waves of laughter. Shameless! Akatsuki angrily shouted. Carrying the equally stunned Baihu, she directly used her movement technique and broke out of the window. She landed in a forest and then put down Baihu. She hugged a tree and cried bitterly. Yi Fan's actions just now simply hurt her too much. Baihu leisurely walked in front of Akatsuki. She sadly stretched out her claws and gently touched Akatsuki. Akatsuki cried even harder. After half an incense's time, Yi Fan walked out from behind the screen with a satisfied expression. He put on his treasured robe, fastened his jade belt, and tidied his silver hair. Then he sat down at the table and poured himself a cup of wine. The dancer who was teasing Yi Fan also walked out from behind the screen at this time. Her face was flushed red as she put on her clothes. All of you can leave. Yi Fan waved his hand and said to the prostitutes. The prostitutes smiled sweetly at Yi Fan and then filed out. Before leaving, the prostitute who had just put on her clothes nodded slightly to Yi Fan. Yi Fan also nodded slightly to her. After the prostitutes left the room, Yi Fan circulated his spiritual energy and created an illusory figure that looked exactly like him out of thin air. He then used his movement skill and disappeared into thin air. At this moment, he had too many things to explain to Akatsuki. Swish, in the blink of an eye, Yi Fan appeared in the dense forest out of thin air. At this moment, Akatsuki was squatting in the forest and crying bitterly with her head buried in her hands. Her shoulders were trembling and she was heartbroken as she sobbed silently. Baihu stood there quietly. Her eyes were dim and she was unhappy. This time, Yi Fan really did go a bit too far. Hongji, Xiao Zhao. Yi Fan slowly walked in front of the woman and the fox, squatted down and said, Akatsuki turned her head to the side and ignored Yi Fan. Xiao Zhao. Yi Fan turned his head to look at Baihu and said. The white fox raised its head and glanced at Yi Fan. It did not have any reaction. Sigh. Yi Fan sat down on the grass and sighed. What's wrong? Are you done with your romantic life? Akatsuki wiped her tears and said in a bad mood. You all misunderstood me. Yi Fan lowered his head and said. Misunderstood? Humph, Akatsuki with tears on her face sneered and said. You did that with the prostitute behind the screen in front of everyone, and you still have the face to say it's a misunderstanding? I did that with the prostitute, did you see it with your own eyes? Yi Fan raised his head and asked Akatsuki. This kind of thing, how could I see it with my own eyes? Akatsuki said coldly. If you didn't see it with your own eyes, don't talk nonsense. Yi Fan said, I'll tell you the truth. Nothing happened between me and the prostitute. What you saw was just the surface. Surface? She sat on top of you and kissed you. You undressed with her behind the screen and made lewd sounds. You actually said that was the surface? Akatsuki said with a cold smile. It's true that she sat on top of me, but she didn't kiss me. Instead, she used the incense fan to block other people's view and whispered in my ear. It's true that I undressed with her behind the screen and made lewd sounds, but that was just a cover. We were talking behind the screen. Yi Fan explained. Whispered in your ear. Talked about something? Akatsuki turned her head to look at Yi Fan and asked with a frown. Yi Fan nodded. What did we talk about? What did we talk about? Akatsuki asked Yi Fan. If I tell you, that woman's identity is not that of a prostitute, would you believe me? Yi Fan didn't answer Akatsuki's question and asked directly. She's not a prostitute? Then who is she? Akatsuki asked with a frown. She's someone from the Red Dust Pavilion. Yi Fan replied. Red Dust Pavilion? Akatsuki was surprised. She's someone from the Red Dust Pavilion. That's right. Yi Fan nodded. Akatsuki frowned and didn't speak. Do you know who this pearl hair clip belongs to? Yi Fan took out the crystal hair clip and asked Akatsuki. Who is it? Akatsuki asked. Red Dust Pavilion's master, my mother's junior sister, Miss Ru Yen. According to seniority, I have to call her Aunt Han. Yi Fan said and told Akatsuki the whole story of how he met Ru Yen. Akatsuki was shocked after listening. You deliberately dropped this pearl hair clip in order to attract the people from the Red Dust Pavilion? Akatsuki asked Yi Fan. That's right, Yi Fan replied. That heart demon is a lecherous man who lingers in brothels. As long as the people from the Red Dust Pavilion help, it would be easy to find this guy. No wonder, no wonder. Akatsuki nodded again and again. Do you believe me now? Yi Fan asked Akatsuki. Chapter 996. And you? Yi Fan turned around and pulled Baihu into his arms. Hong Ji misunderstood me, and you also followed suit. Wu Baihu stuck out her tongue and licked Yi Fan's face a few times as an apology. What do we do now? Just wait? Akatsuki asked Yi Fan. That's right, wait. Yi Fan stroked Baihu in his arms and said, with the Red Dust Pavilion's ability, we should have a result in 6 hours at most. 6 hours? So fast? Akatsuki's voice was a little surprised. As long as there is a brothel, there will be people from the Red Dust Pavilion. If they want to investigate a person, it's easy. Yi Fan looked at Akatsuki and said with a smile, Moreover, I took Aunt Han's pearl hair clip this time, so of course they have to be careful. Akatsuki slowly nodded after hearing this. There were all kinds of people in the brothel, and it was easy to find a lecherous person. I wonder if Aunt Han went to find Matsumoto Takeyoshi? Yi Fan muttered to himself. The last time Akatsuki carried out the mission, she used the silver bracelet to lure out the Red Dust Pavilion's pavilion master Ru Yen and let her meet with Matsumoto Takeyoshi. Yifan clearly remembered that Ru Yen had promised to find Matsumoto Takeyoshi 7 days later, but as far as he knew, his Aunt Han, who was as beautiful as a fairy, had not appeared in the Eastern Sea. Perhaps she had already found Matsumoto Takeyoshi, but she was not present. You call her Aunt Han so intimately, I'm sure that Miss Ru Yen must be a peerless beauty, right? Akatsuki asked Yifan with a smile. The Red Dust Pavilion's pavilion master is naturally as beautiful as a fairy. What, are you jealous of her? Yifan asked Akatsuki with a wicked smile. Who is jealous? Akatsuki said with a red face. Yifan chuckled but didn't say anything. If the Red Dust Pavilion has any news, how do I contact you? Akatsuki asked. There are as many experts as there are clouds in the Red Dust Pavilion. As long as I don't conceal my spiritual pressure, they will naturally have a way to find me, Yifan replied. I didn't think that a sect like the Red Dust Pavilion would exist in this world, said Akatsuki with a sigh. Stop sighing. Let's go back and eat something with me. I was so focused on doing that I didn't have time to fill my stomach. Yifan stood up and said to Akatsuki with a smile. Go back? Where to? Don't tell me it's that drunken dust pavilion again? Akatsuki stared at Yifan and asked. Such a good table of food and wine. It would be a pity if we didn't eat it, Yifan said with a smile. If you want to go, you go. I'm not going. Akatsuki, who was sitting on the wooden stool, turned her head and said angrily. Don't worry. This time we're just going to eat properly and not do anything else. As Yifan spoke, he grabbed Akatsuki's hand and pulled her up. Buzz! A golden light flashed and 2 people and 1 fox appeared in the Drunken Dust Pavilion's private room. As soon as the 2 of them appeared, Yifan's silhouette that was left on the seat instantly disappeared. Come. Let's eat. Yifan pulled Akatsuki to a seat. The food is cold. How are we going to eat? Akatsuki curled her lips and said. That's easy. Yifan smiled as he activated the fire snake dragon pearl in his body. He waved his sleeve at the table full of food and wine. As a wave of heat blew past, the table full of delicious dishes that had already cooled down instantly became steaming hot and fragrant. Lady Hongji, please eat. Yifan handed the finely carved sandalwood chopsticks to Akatsuki with both hands. He imitated the eunuchs in the palace and said in a low voice. Akatsuki laughed and reached out to take the chopstick. Does Lady Hongji have any other orders? Yifan continued to tease Akatsuki. Shut up. Akatsuki said with a smile. But Yifan covered his mouth with one hand and looked at Akatsuki with pitiful eyes. His appearance was extremely comical. Sit down and eat. Akatsuki picked up a drunken prawn and placed it on the porcelain plate in front of Yifan and said with a smile. This servant thanks Lady Hongji for the seat. Thank Lady Hongji for the reward. Yifan pretended to bow to Akatsuki and then slowly sat down. Smooth talker. Akatsuki said with a smile. Yifan smiled and prepared to eat. Good wine and good food, accompanied by beautiful women. Lord Devil Lord really knows how to enjoy life. Just as the 2 were about to eat, an ethereal and pleasant voice sounded around them. After hearing this voice, Yifan immediately raised his head and revealed a happy expression. What a powerful cultivation! Akatsuki looked around and was shocked. With her current cultivation, she actually couldn't sense where this person was. Buzz, following a flash of 5-colored light, a beautiful woman in a 5-colored robe appeared in front of the 2. This woman had a face like peach petals, eyes like the cold moon, skin like cream, red lips, and white teeth. She was simply like a dragon descending to the world. This person was none other than the Red Dust Pavilion's master, Ru Yen. When she saw the woman in front of her, Akatsuki was stunned by her appearance and temperament. This woman was too beautiful. So beautiful that it was as if she had walked out of a painting. Not only was this woman as beautiful as a fairy, but her temperament was also extraordinary. She was as pure as ice and as pure as jade. Coupled with her curvaceous figure and mature charm, she could only be described as perfect. In all honesty, other than Yi Fan's wife, Yumoji, no one could compare to her. Aunt Han. Yi Fan got up from his seat and called out happily as he walked towards Ru Yen. Shoo! Ru Yen put her slender finger to her lips and said, "Don't be too loud. I don't want them to know that I'm here. Otherwise, it'll be another round of etiquette." Clearly, the them she was referring to was the people in the Red Dust Pavilion. It could be seen that she was also a straightforward and open-minded person. Yi Fan was stunned at first, then turned around and waved his sleeve towards the door. Buzz, the entire room flashed with white light and disappeared. He used spiritual energy to seal the entire room. This way, no one could hear their conversation, let alone come in. This time, Aunt Han doesn't have to worry. Yi Fan smiled at Ru Yen. "You child, you only know how to use spiritual energy." Ru Yen smiled. "Aunt Han, why are you here?" Yi Fan asked Ru Yen. "The Demon King is here to do something for the Red Dust Pavilion. How can I not come to pay my respects?" Ru Yen smiled. "Look at what you're saying. In front of you, I'm just a child. What Demon King?" Yi Fan smiled. Ru Yen smiled sweetly. "This stinking brat really knows how to talk. Hongji, this is the Aunt Han I told you about." Yi Fan began to introduce Ru Yen to Akatsuki. Akatsuki greets Pavilion Master Ru Yen. Akatsuki bowed to Ru Yen and said respectfully, "Miss Hongji doesn't need to be so courteous," Ru Yen said to Akatsuki with a smile. Akatsuki straightened up. Selfless from the bottom of her heart, pure as ice and pure as jade. Truly a rare good girl in this world. Ru Yen looked at Akatsuki and said while nodding slowly. She only took a glance at Akatsuki and saw through Akatsuki's character. One must know that she has a special ability, which is to see through the good and evil in people's hearts. Good or evil, treacherous or deceitful, she can tell at a glance. "Pavilion Master Ru Yen praises me too much," Akatsuki replied politely. Ru Yen smiled slightly and did not speak. "Aunt Han, please sit." Yi Fan asked Ru Yen to sit. "No need to sit," Ru Yen said to Yi Fan with a smile. "I came here to tell you that the heart demon who impersonated you has been found." "Found? Where is it?" Yi Fan was shocked when he heard this and quickly asked. "You have been to that place and killed there?" Ru Yen replied. "I have been there and killed there?" Yi Fan frowned and asked Ru Yen where. He had killed in too many places. He did not know where Ru Yen was talking about. "It's the place where Miss Hongji was trapped last time." Ru Yen looked at Yi Fan with her beautiful eyes. She then gently opened her mouth and said, "The Warm Fragrance Pavilion." "Warm Fragrance Pavilion?" Akatsuki and Yi Fan asked in unison when Ru Yen said these three words. "That's the place." Ru Yen nodded and said, "I've received news that the guy who impersonated you has been hanging around there for the past month." Yi Fan narrowed his eyes. "Why?" Akatsuki frowned and asked, "Why does he have to hang around there of all places?" "It's simple, because Fan Air had killed there and the people there are scared to death of him. Naturally, they would serve him with good food and drink. Moreover, all expenses are free." Ru Yen replied to Akatsuki. After Yu Hongji heard this, she suddenly understood. That guy was using Yi Fan's name to act like a tyrant there. "Aunt Han, is that dog still there?" Yi Fan asked Ru Yen. Ru Yen nodded. "There's no time to lose, I'll go meet that guy now," Yi Fan said and turned to look at Ru Yen. "Aunt Han, I won't accompany you for now. This guy isn't easy to find. If we let him go this time, finding him again in the future will be harder than ascending to the heavens. Your matter is more important, you don't have to worry about me. Go quickly." Ru Yen smiled at Yi Fan. "Remember to be careful. Aunt Han, remember to say hello to Mother for me," Yi Fan said and immediately used his movement skill. He turned into a dazzling silver star and flew out of the carved wooden window, straight into the clouds. Senior, Hong-ji will take her leave, Akatsuki said to Ru-yen as she pulled out a ingot and placed it on the table. She then picked up Baihu and turned into a red star as well, chasing after Yi-fan. Sigh. Looking at the two stars disappearing into the sky one after the other, Ru-yen slowly walked to the window, looked up, and sighed. In a while, you take Xiao Zhao and stay in the air, don't get close to that guy. High in the sky, Yi-fan said to Akatsuki, who was walking side by side, that dog got my spiritual energy, his cultivation is not small. If he uses you to threaten me, it won't be easy. Chapter 997. The two of them were extremely fast and soon arrived at the brothel of Jiangnan, warm fragrance pavilion. At this time, the sun was setting in the west and the sunset was gorgeous, illuminating the two of them with golden light. It was very beautiful. You and Xiao Zhao stay here. I'll go down and meet that guy. Yi-fan looked down at the warm fragrance pavilion and said to Akatsuki. Yu Hong nodded. Be careful. Yi-fan responded and immediately used his movement technique. With a whoosh, he disappeared into thin air. After Yi-fan left, Akatsuki immediately chanted a divine incantation and used the cloud ascension technique. The auspicious clouds under her feet suddenly rose more than 100 feet and directly floated into the sea of clouds. After merging the auspicious clouds and the sea of clouds into one, Akatsuki hid her spiritual pressure and squatted down on the auspicious clouds. She held the phoenix wing saber in her hand and focused her vision, looking down. At this time, her body was completely covered by the sea of clouds and her spiritual pressure was completely hidden. Even a peerless expert would have a hard time discovering her existence. She only had one thing to do. Wait. Master, drink another cup. In the brightly lit private room of the warm fragrance pavilion, a bare-chested seductive woman was sitting on a young man's lap and looking at him with coquettish eyes. She hooked one hand around the young man's neck and put a white jade wine cup filled with bejeweled nectar to the young man's mouth with the other hand. She looked at the young man affectionately and fed him wine. The young man drank the wine in one gulp and then suddenly put the woman down. He buried his head in the woman's neck and kissed her crazily. Hee. The woman laughed flirtatiously. The young man who was indulging in wine and women had a head full of silver hair and wore a black robe. His face was like jade and his eyes were like cold stars. He looked exactly like Yi-fan. This person was none other than the devil who took Yi-fan's body and pretended to be Yi-fan. Whoosh! Yi-fan's figure appeared in the hall of the warm fragrance pavilion out of thin air. At this moment, he was dressed differently. He looked like Buffon. His hair was tied up with a golden crown, and he wore a snow-white robe and a jade belt. Holding the white paper fan in his hand, he slowly walked up the stairs. The brothel keeper of the warm fragrance pavilion was holding a pink handkerchief and standing on the stairs, greeting the dignitaries. The procuress in front of him was no longer the procuress from before. Yi-fan had taken a pair of eyes from the previous one, so he was no longer here. Yo, this Mr. looks unfamiliar. Where did you come from? With her sharp eyes, the brothel keeper saw Yi-fan at a glance. She moved her fat body, trotted down the stairs, and came to the front of Yi-fan, and asked with a face full of smiles. I came to Jiangnan for business. I was bored at night, so I came here to have some fun. Yi-fan waved his white paper fan and smiled at the procuress. He wanted to say that he had been here before, and that he had taken a lot of lives and taken a lot of eyeballs. No wonder I can see that you have a noble aura and an extraordinary bearing. Ha ha. The procuress looked up and down at Yi-fan, her eyes shining as she smiled. Yi-fan's mouth curved, letting the procuress look at him. Mister, what is your surname? The procuress asked Yi-fan. My surname is Sunday, Yi-fan replied. I'll go find some beautiful girls for Mister to choose from. How about it? The procuress asked Yi-fan. First find me a private room. Yi Fan pretended to look at the warm fragrance pavilion, and said carelessly, Good, good, good. Mr. Sun, please follow me. The procuress said with a smile, and slowly walked up the stairs to lead the way for Yi Fan. Yi Fan closed his white paper fan, and followed the procuress upstairs. He had already hidden his spiritual pressure, and the demon impersonating him had also hidden his spiritual pressure. Because of this, the two did not perceive each other. After all, the two spiritual powers were similar, their bodies were the same, and they both belonged to the demon race, so it was naturally difficult to detect each other. Mr. Sun, this is the best private room we have here. After coming to a luxurious private room, the procuress said to Yi Fan with a face full of smiles. Yi Fan smiled, and then casually brushed the wooden door behind him. Crash! The wooden door closed. The procuress and Yi Fan were now in the same room. Yi Fan turned around and approached the procuress step by step. Mr. Sun, what are you doing? The procuress kept retreating while stammering. Those who came here to have fun were all interested in young and beautiful women. No one had ever thought about an old and weak procuress like her. Could it be that good news came today? That this gigolo's taste was different, and he liked old bacon? Let me ask you, in this warm fragrance pavilion, is there a silver-haired guy who freeloads and acts like a tyrant? Just as the procuress was letting her imagination run wild, Yi Fan's face changed into a gloomy one, and he asked the procuress with a sullen face. At this time, he could use the 10,000 demons painting to find the demon. After all, the two were in the warm fragrance pavilion. However, he did not do that. He was worried that the guy could perceive the demon spirit on the 10,000 demons painting. You mean, Mr. Yi? Hearing Yi Fan's question, the procuress immediately asked in surprise. Let me tell you, that guy is impersonating me. Yi Fan put his head in front of the procuress and said coldly, I'm the real Mr. Yi. Yi Fan said, and with a thought, he instantly changed back to his original appearance of the black-robed, silver-haired man. Ah! The procuress was so shocked by the scene in front of her that she covered her mouth with both hands and screamed. Her face turned pale, and she looked at Yi Fan in horror. One Yi Fan was enough to make her hair stand on end. Now that there were two Yi Fans, how could she not be afraid? If you scream again, I'll cut off your tongue. Yi Fan threatened the procuress. The procuress immediately nodded like a chicken pecking rice, and no longer made a sound. She had heard about the incident at the warm fragrance pavilion. It was said that this silver-haired guy was very powerful and ruthless. Killing people was easier than killing an ant. At that time, the entire European firearms team was killed by this guy in one move, which was enough to show his ability. Tell me, where is that guy now? Yi Fan asked the procuress. Upstairs. Upstairs. Jade Gate Pass. The brothel keeper said with a pale face. Whoosh. Before the procuress finished speaking, Yi Fan's figure disappeared into thin air. The moment Yi Fan left, the procuress immediately collapsed to the ground like a pile of mud. At this time, the demon pretending to be Yi Fan was having sex with the seductive woman. He was having a good time, and he was completely unaware that the real person had already arrived at his door. Bang! A loud sound was heard, and the luxurious wooden door was kicked open by Yi Fan. Damn, who dares to disturb my mood? Are you tired of living? Yi Fan's kick made the devil, who was in the mood, fly into a rage out of humiliation. The naked demon cursed as he raised his head to look outside the door. Yi Fan, who was outside the door, slowly walked in with his hands behind his back. In an instant, the two Yi Fans' eyes met. The naked devil stared with his mouth agape. He had completely forgotten that he was completely naked. Yi Fan, who was slowly walking in, gritted his teeth and his eyes were spitting fire. He wanted nothing more than to tear this fellow before him into a million pieces. The woman who was being pressed down by the demon was stunned at first. Then, she pulled the quilt in front of her and screamed. Whoosh! Yi Fan, who was at the door, didn't say much. He threw a palm strike at the naked demon on the bed. Whoosh, a white palm shadow shot out from Yi Fan's hand and went straight for the demon. The white palm shadow shone brightly, and the cold air rose. It was extremely domineering. If it were anyone else, Yi Fan would definitely ask them to put on their clothes, or at least let them have a cloth to cover their private parts. However, Yi Fan didn't show any mercy to the demon who was impersonating him. He only had one thought now, and that was to kill this impersonator. The demon on the bed was indeed a top-notch expert. The moment Yi Fan's cold light palm struck, he pulled the naked woman in front of him to block Yi Fan's cold light palm. Bang! With a muffled sound, the naked and flirtatious woman was instantly hit by Yi Fan's cold light palm. She instantly turned into red and white ice shards and died on the spot. As the saying goes, a great man must be ruthless. To this demon, the life of any living thing was not worth mentioning. What a despicable method! He actually used a living person to block his cold light palm. Yi Fan's eyes were wide open, and he was furious. The reason why he used cold air instead of spiritual power was to prevent the innocent from being hurt. No matter how cheap a prostitute's life was, it was still a life. However, this impersonator used Yi Fan's weakness to dodge his attack. Whoosh! While using the prostitute's body to block Yi Fan's cold light palm, the impersonator grabbed the black robe hanging at the head of the bed. Then, with a whoosh, he turned into a green ray of light, broke through the roof, and flew into the sky. You want to escape? Not so easy. When Yi Fan saw that the fiend had turned into a ray of starlight and was trying to escape, he thought of something and turned his body into a huge ray of silver light. He quickly chased after the fiend through the huge hole that he had made in the roof. Whoosh! The green ray of light was extremely fast. It went straight into the sky, and the tail behind it was 30 feet long. Whoosh! The impersonator's ray of light was fast, but Yi Fan's ray of light was even faster. The huge silver ray of light whizzed up, and the tail behind it was 30 feet long. It's here. Yu Hongji, who was hidden in the sea of clouds, was shocked as she looked at the two stars that soared into the sky like two bolts of lightning. She did not even need to guess. That green ray of light was the evil impersonator who killed the 3 bellkeepers and impersonated Yi Fan. In an instant, Akatsuki instinctively clenched the phoenix wing blade in her hand. She narrowed her eyes and stared at the green ray of light, ready to help Yi Fan at any time. Whoosh! Yi Fan's silver ray of light was extremely fast and caught up with the green ray of light in an instant. At this moment, the distance between the two was less than 30 feet. I'll let you run. Yi Fan, who was inside the ray of light, gritted his teeth and said. At the same time, he urged the fire snake's inner core in his body to attack the rapidly rising green ray of light with both palms. Whoosh! 2 fiery pillars of light that were as thick as a bowl shot out from Yi Fan's palms and headed straight for the green starlight. At this moment, Yi Fan's spiritual cultivation had reached the realm of dragon traversing the heavens. In addition, Yi Fan was burning with anger, so the power of his move was not to be underestimated. Boom! Boom! The fiery light pillars were as fast as lightning and instantly bombarded the green ray of light. As the saying goes, even immortals are afraid of smoke. Yi Fan's dragon traversing the heavens was even more powerful. His fiery light pillars directly bombarded the green ray of light, causing it to fly into the air and almost dissipate. The impersonator Yi Fan, who was inside the green ray of light, was also burned by the 2 fiery light pillars. Both of his legs were covered in blood and were charred. Speaking of which, this demon was indeed extraordinary. While his body was injured by the fire, his mind moved, and he directly urged his spiritual energy. Buzz! As a blood-red light soared around his body, the skin and flesh on his legs, which had been burnt to a crisp, instantly healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was the power of the heavenly demon. Chapter 998. Buzz, as Akatsuki thought to herself, the demon who had used the power of the heavenly demon to restore his physical body began to counterattack. He turned his head around and looked at Yi Fan. Then, he straightened his palms and threw a palm strike at Yi Fan, who was chasing after him relentlessly from a distance. Whoosh! A beam of flame about 1 foot thick shot out from his left palm. Whoosh! Another beam of cold light of the same thickness shot out from his right palm. The 2 beams of light, one cold and one hot, one red and one white, rushed toward Yi Fan like 2 giant pythons. They were cold and hot. This guy had even learned Yi Fan's unique skills of cold and heat. Akatsuki, who was hiding in the sea of clouds, was shocked again. Akatsuki's guess was right. The demon who had taken over Yi Fan's physical body had indeed learned Yi Fan's unique skills of cold and heat. Even though Yi Fan had already transferred the icy cold inner core and the fire snake dragon pearl from his dantian into his new body when he had given up on this body, one should not forget that the 2 great inner cores had been circulating in Yi Fan's dantian for over a year. The cold and hot chi that they had released had already completely soaked his dantian. Just by this point, the demon was able to condense the remaining cold and hot energies in his chi into 2 soybean-sized elixirs. It was also because of this that he could use his spiritual power to activate these 2 elixirs, releasing a biting cold and a domineering flame. Good timing! Seeing the demon attack, Yi Fan, who was chasing closely behind, shouted coldly and attacked with both his palms. Whoosh! 2 beams of light, one cold and one hot, shot out from Yi Fan's palms and met the incoming cold and hot energies. As the saying goes, a fake can't be real, and a real can't be fake. There's no need to be afraid of not knowing what's good, but comparing the goods to the real. Although the cold and hot chi released by the demons were powerful compared to Yi Fan's moves, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. The 2 cold and hot light pillars he released were only a foot thick. The light and color blended together like 2 giant pythons. On the other hand, the 2 cold and hot light pillars released by Yi Fan were more than 3 feet thick. The light was resplendent like 2 giant dragons. How could a sparkling fire compete with the bright moon? Boom! Boom! The 4 light pillars were extremely fast, and in an instant, they collided in midair. Comparing the 2, it was obvious who was superior. Yi Fan's hot and cold light pillar didn't even pause for a moment. It instantly engulfed the hot and cold energy released by the demon general. After swallowing up the demon's hot and cold chi, the 2 light pillars didn't change direction, nor did they slow down. They continued to shoot toward the demon. Bright moon overhead. When the 2 pillars of light were less than 30 feet away from the devil let out a soft roar. Buzz! The moment the devil finished speaking, a huge blue light ball appeared out of thin air, completely enveloping the devil's body. The light ball was about 10 feet in size. It shone with a blue light and spun continuously. It was the proud moon heavenly scripture's bright moon overhead. Akatsuki, who was in the sea of clouds, opened her eyes wide in disbelief. This demon general had actually obtained such a powerful technique. Boom, boom. The 2 pillars of light, one cold and one hot, collided with the blue light ball, who, borrowing the force of the 2 light pillars, the devil in the moonlight green light ball activated its movement technique and fled toward the horizon at a rapid speed. The scene in front of him completely enraged Yi Fan. He finally understood why the 3 bellkeepers were killed in one move. This fellow had even learned his bright moon overhead, so he must have also learned the mysterious heaven's secret essentials. Proud moon heavenly scripture, mysterious heaven's secret essentials, heavenly demon's power, the hot and cold chi, as well as a body that had passed the heavenly tribulation. How could the 3 bellkeepers be a match for this demon general? If this demon general was not completely eliminated this time, there would be endless trouble in the future. Yi Fan thought to himself as he suddenly activated 50% of the dragon traversing the heavens in his body. Buzz! the rising dragon tattoo on Yi Fan's back suddenly shone with a golden light. Whoosh! 2 rays of golden light shot out from the dragon's eyes. At this moment, Yi Fan was shrouded in golden light. The yang qi was blazing and flames were rising. Whoosh! The moment the rising dragon tattoo shone with golden light, Yi Fan's body disappeared into thin air. What a fast movement technique! Akatsuki exclaimed in her heart. With her current cultivation, she actually could not see Yi Fan's movement technique clearly. Dragon traversing the heavens was indeed powerful. However, she could feel that Yi Fan was angry. The reason was simple. She could feel Yi Fan's killing intent. Whoosh! High up in the sky, the demon general who was pretending to be Yi Fan pushed his movement technique to the extreme. He pierced through the sea of clouds and flew rapidly. At this moment, the sky had completely darkened. High up in the sky, the sea of clouds was continuous and the stars were shining brightly. His silver hair fluttered in the wind as he flew in the sky and constantly looked behind him. However, what made him feel strange was that other than the whistling clouds and air currents, there was nothing behind him. Where was he? Why didn't he chase after him? The demon general looked around and frowned as he thought to himself. His opponent had disappeared into thin air for no reason. This was not a good sign for him. One had to know that his opponent this time was the king of the devil realm, the reincarnation of Eldritch. He was a real expert. No, he was an expert among experts. Thinking of this, he cautiously activated the spiritual energy in his body and set up a protective ball of light around him. Buzz, the protective ball of light was 3 feet in size. The green light was dazzling and dazzling. The green spiritual energy of the proud moon heavenly scripture and the green spiritual energy of the inner demon formed this huge ball of light. However, the moment he activated the protective ball of light, a shadow appeared out of thin air above the sea of clouds dozens of feet away. The person's silver hair fluttered in the wind and his black robe fluttered in the wind. His figure was floating above the sea of clouds and he was looking at him coldly. This person was none other than Yi Fan. Yi Fan's movement technique was extremely fast. It was not something that the demon general could imagine. What a fast movement technique! Yi Fan's sudden appearance shocked the demon general who was inside the protective ball of light. This guy was indeed the reincarnation of Eldritch. He was not simple. However, the demon general soon calmed down. With a thought, he activated the spiritual energy in his body. Buzz, his left hand bent into a claw and a red light burst out. Buzz, on his right hand, 5 colors shone brightly. What he used was Yi Fan's famous technique, the mysterious sky secret essentials, heavenly demon power. In an instant, the demon general was shrouded in a green light. The 5 colors burst out and the blood light circulated. Mysterious sky secret essentials, proud moon heavenly scripture, heavenly demon power, inner demon spirit. The 4 great powers were completely activated by the demon general. I want your life! The demon general inside the protective ball of light shouted loudly as he activated his movement technique and charged towards Yi Fan. His movement technique was so fast that behind the ball of light, there was a 70 to 80 feet long green tail. His momentum was so strong that it was like a 5-colored meteor cutting through Yi Kong. His speed was so fast that the sea of clouds in the sky was instantly split open, forming a huge cloud path that was dozens of feet wide. Facing the demon general's full power attack, Yi Fan, who was dozens of feet away, had a cold expression and his eyes were empty. His silver hair fluttered as he quietly floated above the sea of clouds without moving an inch. At this moment, he was like a fierce tiger waiting for an opportunity to strike. He was quiet and terrifying. Die! Eldritch! The murderous demon general shouted crazily like a demon from hell. Yi Fan's lips curled up and he closed his eyes. Whoosh! The demon general's movement technique was as fast as lightning. In an instant, he rushed in front of Yi Fan. Yeah, the devil shouted loudly. He quickly extended the heavenly devil light claw that was glowing with bloody radiance and the profound heaven light palm that was surrounded by 5 colors towards Yi Fan. Before the palm arrived, the strong wind arrived first. Whoosh! The strong wind whistled and blew Yi Fan's silver hair up high, fluttering in the wind. Just when the demon general's palm and claw were less than an inch away from Yi Fan's nose, Yi Fan moved. In a flash, he moved his head slightly and dodged the demon general's attack. Then, he raised his right arm and turned his palm into a knife, stabbing towards the demon general's protective ball of light. Yi Fan's attack was as fast as lightning. It was as if a fierce tiger had extended its tiger claw. Boom! With a loud sound, Yi Fan's arm instantly pierced through the demon general's protective ball of light. Bang! The protective light sphere exploded and shattered with a loud bang. Fragments of light swirled in the air as they scattered. But, after piercing through the ball of light, Yi Fan's 5 fingers curled into a claw and locked onto the demon general's neck. The scene in front of him shocked the demon general. His pupils constricted, and he couldn't regain his senses for a long time. He knew that Yi Fan was very strong, but he didn't expect Yi Fan's cultivation to be so strong. This person didn't use any spiritual power, and was actually able to break through his all-out attack so easily. Damn, you've learned everything, huh? Yi Fan said slowly. Then, he exerted some strength in his 5 fingers and lifted the demon general up. The demon general's hands clung onto Yi Fan's fingers with all his might as he panted in pain. However, no matter how much strength he exerted, Yi Fan's 5 fingers were like iron pliers. They refused to let go and didn't move an inch. Tell me, how did you find my broken body? Yi Fan narrowed his eyes and asked the demon coldly. Before killing this impostor, he had to figure out the ins and outs of this matter. Cough cough. The demon general, whose throat was locked, laughed strangely. Take a guess. Take a guess? Humph. Yi Fan sneered. I'm guessing that you don't want to live anymore. As Yi Fan spoke, he slowly exerted strength in his hands. His 5 fingers gradually sank into the demon general's neck, reaching a depth of 1 inch. The demon general had difficulty breathing and his face gradually turned the color of pig liver. Are you going to tell me? Yi Fan continued asking. He. The demon general laughed strangely. What if I don't tell you? Cough cough. If you don't tell me, I'll crush your primordial spirit and turn you into ashes, Yi Fan said fiercely as he stared at the demon general who looked exactly like him. Ha ha ha. The demon general suddenly laughed loudly. Eldritch, you're too arrogant. Do you think that I've been restrained by you? Ha ha. Buzz, as the demon general spoke, his body instantly turned into a wisp of green smoke and disappeared. It was a clone. The scene in front of him made Yi Fan frown instantly. He was shocked. Just now, he was only focused on killing this guy and didn't notice that the other party was actually a clone. Whoosh. Just as Yi Fan was frowning, a familiar and domineering spiritual pressure came from behind him. Yi Fan slowly turned around and looked behind him. Chapter 999. Evidently, the person in front of him was the true body of the inner demon. Yi Fan thought to himself as he looked at the newcomer. It has been a long time since I last saw you at the Heavenly Lake, Yi Fan said with a smile as he slowly removed the white jade mask on his face. What? You stole my body after not seeing me for a long time? Yi Fan's gaze was as sharp as a knife as he said coldly. I felt that it was a pity that you did not use such a precious body, so I borrowed it, Yi Fan said with a smile. Borrowed? Humph, Yi Fan sneered. You stole a body from someone else's grave, is that considered borrowing? The white-robed Yi Fan smiled and didn't say anything. Let me ask you, were you the one who killed the 3 bellkeepers? Yi Fan went straight to the point. That's right, the inner demon replied. I did take the lives of the 3 bellkeepers. How did you know that I buried their bodies on Mount Everest? Yi Fan continued to ask. Well, I can't tell you that, the inner demon smiled mysteriously and replied. Since you don't want to tell me, I'll let you have a taste of having your primordial spirit destroyed. Yi Fan narrowed his eyes as he said coldly. You want to kill me? Ha. The inner demon crossed his arms and said with a smile. Has Sir Demon Lord never thought that it would be too easy to find my whereabouts? The inner demon said as he looked up at Yi Fan. His eyes were full of cunning. What? Could it be that you purposely lured me here? Yi Fan retorted coldly. You guessed right, the inner demon said with a smile. Oh? Is that so? Yi Fan narrowed his eyes as he asked. Do you really think that I stayed in the warm fragrance pavilion just to play with a few girls? Do you really think that I went to the Emerald Antique Brook to flirt with that demoness with the surname Sue? The inner demon asked Yi Fan with a smile. So you're saying that you purposely set this up and waited for me to take the bait? Yi Fan asked the inner demon. That's right, the inner demon replied. Why? Yi Fan asked. Force you to tell me the whereabouts of the divine cauldron, then obtain your new body, destroy your primordial spirit, and become the ruler of the devil realm for you, the inner demon said straightforwardly. Yi Fan was stunned when he heard what the inner demon said. Then, he sneered. What are you laughing at? The inner demon asked Yi Fan with a smile. You want to kill me? You? Yi Fan raised his head to look at Xinmo and asked sarcastically. As the saying goes, a greedy man is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. This impostor actually boasted so shamelessly when his own strength was far inferior to his own. It was truly laughable. However, what the inner demon said next made the smile on Yi Fan's face disappear instantly. Do you think I'm your only opponent? The inner demon stared into Yi Fan's eyes and asked with a smile. Swish, swish, swish. As soon as the inner demon finished speaking, more than a dozen shadows appeared around Yi Fan and floated in the air. There were men and women, old and young. The old ones were in their 60s and 70s, and the young ones were only 17 or 18 years old. Although these people were all dressed differently, they had one thing in common, and that was that they were all enveloped in a layer of green light. Their eyes were sinister as they stared at Yi Fan, who was trapped in the middle, with evil smiles on their faces. Yi Fan couldn't help but narrow his eyes and frown when he saw the green light flowing around these 11 people. These were the inner demons. Apart from the female owner of the Emerald Antique Brook, all the inner demons in the human world had appeared. What are you doing? Yi Fan looked at the 11 inner demons around him and said coldly. Under the orders of the Devil King, we're going to get rid of you, impostor. In the air, a young man who looked to be about 17 or 18 years old said with a smile. He. As soon as the young man spoke, the remaining 10 inner demons immediately laughed in unison. Clearly, they had already accepted the impostor Yi Fan as the Devil King. The inner demon who was impersonating Yi Fan smiled knowingly and didn't say anything. Are you all going to wallow in the mire with this impostor? Yi Fan asked the devils expressionlessly. After we eat your primordial spirit, we'll have a new Devil King, a chubby middle-aged woman said with a smile. If you tell us the location of the 9 cauldrons now, we'll let you die a quick death, he. So you're saying that I should thank you? Yi Fan asked the inner demons with a smile. You're welcome, Lord Devil King. A young woman covered her mouth and giggled. Ha. The inner demons burst into laughter after hearing this. Aren't you afraid that I'll summon the devil army to kill you in the human realm, Yi Fan asked the inner demons with a smile. We're both demons and humans now. It can be said that if we desire humans, we'll become humans. If we desire demons, we'll become demons. There are rules in the devil realm that states that demons can only tempt humans and are not allowed to use their devil spirits on humans. Has Lord Devil King forgotten this? A young man who looked like a scholar asked Yi Fan with a smile. Looks like you've done your homework and are determined to kill me. Yi Fan nodded with a smile. You won't be able to escape today. The young man smiled. Do you really think that you can kill me with just a bunch of trash like you? Yi Fan looked at the group of demons and retorted. Do you think we don't have a way to deal with you? The inner demon who was impersonating Yi Fan sneered. What way? Yi Fan turned to look at the white-robed Yi Fan with a smile. With his current cultivation, he didn't know who could subdue him. Look at what this is. As the white-robed Yi Fan spoke, he extended his hand into the air. Buzz, a dazzling golden light flashed in the white-robed Yi Fan's hand, and a golden object appeared in his hand out of thin air. The object was 3 inches in size and shaped like an alms bowl. It was shimmering with golden light and filled with the aura of a treasure. The moment Yi Fan saw the object, his pupils constricted. The golden Buddha treasure bowl. The golden Buddha treasure bowl in the hands of the red-robed Lama Gesang Dorje. Yi Fan exclaimed in his heart. The reason why he was humiliated when he lost his arm on the Great Snow Mountain was because the golden Buddha treasure bowl had suppressed the power of the heavenly demon in his body. He had heard from his other self that this treasure was the heirloom of the Tibetan Dharma kings. Together with the demon-subduing pestle of the Golden Wheel Temple and the swastika Buddhist seal of the Great Peacock Monastery, they were known as the 3 great secret artifacts of Tibet. It was said that the golden Buddha treasure bowl was engraved with the supreme demon-subduing Buddhist incantation and embedded with the relics of the Dharma kings. Its Buddhist power was boundless and could subdue all demons. Yi Fan would never have thought that this treasure would fall into the hands of this guy. What do you think, Mr. Eldritch? This treasure looks familiar, doesn't it? The white-robed inner demon asked Yi Fan with a smile. You are really thoughtful, Yi Fan said with narrowed eyes. You are the demon king who has survived the heavenly tribulation and the reincarnation of Eldritch, who fought against the 6 immortals. How would I dare to challenge you without some strength? What do you think, Mr. Eldritch? The white-robed Yi Fan asked with a smile. You think you can kill me just because you have the golden Buddha treasure bowl? Yi Fan raised his eyebrows and asked the white-robed inner demon. I want to try, the white-robed Yi Fan said with a greedy look in his eyes. Yi Fan smiled and said nothing. Go! Chapter 1000. Buzz, Buzz, Buzz. Following Yi Fan's command, the 11 inner demons activated their demonic spirits at the same time. Huff, huff, huff. 11 green flames rose from the bodies of the 11 inner demons, and their brilliance soared into the sky. In an instant, the flames roared and the demonic spirits exploded. The entire sky was illuminated by the green glow, which was very beautiful. After activating their demonic spirits to the maximum, the inner demons held their palms together and hugged each other. Buzz. 11 huge balls of demonic spirits appeared in the middle of the 11 inner demons. The balls of demonic spirits were about 1 foot in size, and the green glow around them was dazzling. The dazzling green glow illuminated the hideous faces of the inner demons. The white-robed Yi Fan held the golden Buddha treasure bowl and looked at Yi Fan with a sinister smile. He wanted to wait for Yi Fan to fight with the inner demons before using the golden Buddha treasure bowl to ambush Yi Fan and suppress Yi Fan's demonic spirits. Looks like I have to clean up my house today. Yi Fan laughed coldly as he looked at the inner demons that were blazing with demonic spirits. Eldritch, give me your life. The inner demon who was dressed like a scholar shouted as he pushed the devil spirit light ball in his hand towards Yi Fan. Swoosh, a 1-foot-thick green light beam shot out from the balls of demonic spirits between his palms and went straight toward Yi Fan. Seeing that the scholar had made his move, the remaining 10 inner demons followed suit. Die, Eldritch! Go to hell. Demon King. I'll send you to hell. The inner demons shouted and activated the balls of demonic spirits in their hands. Each of them shot out a green light beam toward Yi Fan. 11 blazing green pillars of light shot out toward Yi Fan at the same time. In an instant, up, down, left, right, and in all directions, there were dazzling green pillars of light. The 11 demonic spirit light beams were like 11 green dragons that went straight toward Yi Fan. His aura was so strong that it could topple mountains and overturn seas. Yi Fan sneered as he faced the onslaught of the inner demons. He stretched out a hand into the air. Buzz, the dazzling 10,000 devil treasure fan, appeared in his palm out of nowhere. Puff. Yi Fan held the fan in his hand. Then, he opened the fan with his fingers. It was the 10,000 demons painting. When they saw the emerald fan in Yi Fan's hand, the inner demons' expressions changed drastically. Isn't this something only the demon realm supremes are qualified to use? How did it end up in this guy's hands? After unfolding the myriad devil treasure fan, Yi Fan elegantly turned around on the spot. At the same time, he quickly fanned the fan in his hand toward the 11 demonic spirit light pillars that were shooting toward him. The fan moved with the person, and the person moved with the fan. Phew, as the myriad devil-treasured fan gently fanned, the 11 green light beams that were shooting towards Yi Fan were instantly sucked into the fan. The reason why the myriad devil treasure fan was called the most precious treasure of the devil realm was naturally because of its uniqueness. Searching for the myriad devil treasure fan was only one of its many magical uses. Other than searching for the myriad devil treasure fan, the most magical use of the fan was that it could absorb all the demonic spirit attacks and use the opponent's attacks for its own use. It could be said that other than the demon lords who had the innate demon blood lineage, no other demonic spirits could do anything to the myriad devil treasure fan. After absorbing all the demonic spirit light pillars into the fan, Yi Fan turned his wrist, flipped the fan, and fanned it toward the inner demons. Phew, in an instant, the 11 demonic spirit light pillars that were sucked into the fan shot out toward the inner demons. Its speed was several times faster than before. The speed at which Yi Fan waved his fan was extremely fast. His movements were as smooth as flowing water. Before the dumbfounded inner demons could react, they were instantly struck by the 11 devil spirit light pillars that shot out explosively. Bang! Bang! The 11 inner demons were sent flying backward like kites with broken strings. Puff! 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 Without exception, all the inner demons spat out mouthfuls of blood, staining their robes. Although they had become demonic spirits, their physical bodies were still intact, so they were naturally severely injured. After sending the inner demons flying, Yi Fan gently fanned the myriad devil treasure fan and looked at the white-robed Yi Fan with a smile. The myriad devil treasure fan was indeed powerful. With a gentle wave, it repelled the 11 inner demons instantly. What a good item! With this treasure in hand, even if the myriad devil treasure fan attacked, what could he do? Yi Fan thought to himself as he fanned the fan. The white-clothed Yi Fan, who was holding the golden Buddha treasure bowl, narrowed his eyes. He had never thought that Tenmoni would give such a treasure to this guy. Swoosh! 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 The 11 inner demons forcefully controlled their demonic spirits and stopped about 10 feet away. They were all half kneeling in the air with their hands on their chests. There was blood at the corner of their mouths, and their faces were pale. Originally, they wanted to use their physical bodies to stop Yi Fan from mobilizing the demonic army to kill them. Now, their physical bodies had become a burden to them. Leaving their physical bodies and using their primordial spirits to fight, they could temporarily get rid of the pain brought by their physical bodies. However, if they did that, Yi Fan could mobilize the demonic army to kill them all. If they did not leave their physical bodies, they would have to drag their severely injured physical bodies to fight. The inner demons gritted their teeth and looked up at Yi Fan, their eyes full of anger. With Yi Fan's fan in hand, they would not be able to do anything even if they tried their best. With nowhere else to go, the inner demons all looked at the white-robed Yi Fan. He had the golden Buddha treasure bowl in his hand, and its Buddhist power was boundless. It was the nemesis of the myriad devil treasure fan. Eldritch, don't be so arrogant. Seeing that the inner demons were powerless against Yi Fan's myriad devil treasure fan, Yi Fan shouted and started to activate the golden Buddha treasure bowl in his hand. Buzz, as soon as Yi Fan finished his words, the golden Buddha treasure bowl in his hand shone brightly, and its size increased from 3 inches to 9 inches. He held the golden Buddha treasure bowl with both hands, the bottom of the bowl facing the sky, and the mouth of the bowl facing Yi Fan. Golden Buddha treasure bowl, subdue all demons, keep. Yi Fan slapped the bottom of the golden Buddha treasure bowl and shouted loudly. Swoosh, thousands of golden rays shot out from the golden Buddha treasure bowl like a golden light shield, covering Yi Fan. Seeing this, Yi Fan closed the golden Buddha treasure bowl with a bang, and then used his unique movement skill. Swoosh. At the moment when the thousands of golden rays shot towards him, Yi Fan turned into a ray of white light and quickly dodged them. You want to run away? It's not that easy, Yi Fan said, and immediately adjusted the direction of the golden Buddha treasure bowl. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Yi Fan's ray of white light dashed left and right in the sea of clouds. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Yi Fan's golden Buddha treasure bowl's ray of light chased after it, not giving up. In the sea of clouds, the rays of light danced and the golden rays swept across, extremely dazzling. Ha ha! Let's see where you can run to this time. Looking at Yi Fan, who was constantly escaping in the sea of clouds, Yi Fan said with a sinister smile. Ha ha! Good, good. Cough, cough. The inner demon, who was dressed like a scholar, cheered loudly. With this golden Buddha treasure bowl, Yi Fan could not escape. Swoosh. Just as Yi Fan was secretly rejoicing, the white rays of light in the sea of clouds suddenly changed direction and whizzed towards the 11 injured inner demons. Swoosh. Yi Fan's movement skill was extremely fast, and he appeared among the inner demons in an instant. When Yi Fan saw this, he instinctively turned the golden Buddha treasure bowl's mouth and shone it at Yi Fan. His action was purely instinctive, and he did not expect that the golden Buddha treasure bowl's ray of light would hurt the 11 inner demons. Whoosh! Before the old man who was standing in front of Yi Fan could regain his senses, he was enveloped by the 10,000 rays of golden light that shot out from the golden Buddha treasure bowl. Chi! Before the old man could even scream, his primordial spirit was instantly shattered and his soul dispersed. The golden light that Yi Fan used this time was not a demon trapping technique, but a demon slayer technique. Previously, Yi Fan's heavenly demon power was not a match for the golden Buddha treasure bowl, let alone the old man's inner demon power. Whoosh! The old man's corpse fell from mid-air and fell to the ground. Whoosh! The moment the golden light was about to envelop him, Yi Fan smiled slightly and used his movement skill again to quickly dodge it. He had been defeated by the golden Buddha treasure bowl before, so he knew the power of the golden Buddha treasure bowl better than anyone else. However, compared to Gesang Duji, this impostor could not unleash the full power of the golden Buddha treasure bowl. After all, Gesang Duji was a monk, and his Buddhist cultivation was not shallow. On the other hand, this impostor was an inner demon through and through. One could imagine the power of a Buddhist treasure controlled by a devil. Because of this, Yi Fan could easily dodge the golden light of the golden Buddha treasure bowl. Seeing that Yi Fan had easily dodged the light of the treasure bowl, the white-robed Yi Fan squinted his eyes and chanted a mantra. Then, he threw the golden Buddha treasure bowl directly at Yi Fan. Whoosh! The golden Buddha treasured alms bowl glowed with a golden light and instantly turned into a golden meteor. It flew straight towards the white starlight that Yi Fan had turned into. At the same time, countless rays of golden light burst out from the treasure bowl. This time, the intensity of the golden light was far stronger than before. Whoosh! In an instant, Yi Fan's white starlight was completely covered by thousands of rays of golden light. Whoosh! After covering Yi Fan's white starlight, the thousands of rays of golden light gradually gathered and dragged Yi Fan's white starlight into the golden Buddha treasure bowl. I got it. Seeing this, the white-robed Yi Fan was overjoyed. He waved his hand at the golden Buddha treasure bowl in midair, and the golden Buddha treasure bowl immediately flew back into his palm. After retrieving the treasure bowl, the white-robed Yi Fan immediately placed the treasure bowl in front of him and looked inside. Seeing this, the white-robed Yi Fan's eyes lit up and his face lit up with joy. In the golden Buddha treasure bowl, a small person that was only a few inches tall was constantly hitting the walls of the golden Buddha treasure bowl. Bang! Bang! Under the continuous hitting of the small person, the golden Buddha treasure bowl produced a buzzing sound. And this small person was none other than Yi Fan. Ha ha! Demon King, how does the golden Buddha treasure bowl taste? Not bad, right? The white-robed Yi Fan asked loudly as he looked at Yi Fan, who was rampaging inside the golden Buddha treasure bowl. The small person in the golden Buddha treasure bowl didn't answer, but continued to hit the golden Buddha treasure bowl. Congratulations, Demon King! Congratulations! When the inner demons saw that Yi Fan had been subdued by the golden Buddha treasure bowl, they immediately cupped their hands and congratulated the white-robed Yi Fan. Ha ha ha, if I become the Demon King, all of you will become demon generals. The white-robed Yi Fan laughed loudly. Thank you, Demon King. The inner demons bowed to the white-robed Yi Fan and said in unison, Wait till I peel off his corporeal body, destroy his primordial spirit, and obtain the position of the godly cauldron. Then I will bring all of you into the devil world and enjoy eternal bliss. As the white-robed Yi Fan spoke, he looked at the golden Buddha treasure bowl again. Chapter 1001. Yi Fan, who was only an inch tall, had already stopped his violent collisions within the treasure bowl that was flowing with golden light. At this moment, he had his hands behind his back and was looking at the white-robed Yi Fan through the golden bowl. His gaze was crafty, and the corners of his mouth were slightly curved. He was smiling evilly. Yi Fan's smile made the white-robed Yi Fan frown. He was dumbfounded. He vaguely felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't pinpoint exactly what was wrong at the moment. He knew Yi Fan's temperament very well. The more evilly he smiled, the worse it was for him. Seeing the white-robed Yi Fan frowning, the inner demons looked at each other and couldn't figure it out. They did not understand why this newly appointed demon lord would suddenly have such an unsightly expression. Whoosh! Just as the white-robed inner demon was feeling scared by Yi Fan's smile in the golden Buddha treasure bowl, a shadow flashed in front of him. It was as fast as lightning. Who is it? The white-robed Yi Fan turned his head and shouted loudly as he looked in the direction the illusory figure had just passed by. In the void there was nothing at all. Maybe it was an illusion. The white-robed Yi Fan thought to himself. As he thought, he looked at the golden Buddha treasure bowl in his hand again. However, the white-robed Yi Fan's expression changed drastically. His face was as white as a sheet. The golden Buddha treasure bowl in his hand had disappeared. At this moment, what was in his hand was an ordinary rock that couldn't be any more ordinary. Someone had switched the golden Buddha treasure bowl in an instant. The white-robed Yi Fan was shocked. Devil Lord, how did your golden bowl turn into a rock? Seeing the rock in the white-robed Yi Fan's hand, the inner demons asked in unison. The shadow that flashed by was too fast. With their cultivation, they didn't notice it at all. Who dares to steal this demon monarch's golden Buddha treasure bowl? The white-robed Yi Fan crushed the bluestone in his hand into powder. He swept his gaze across the sky and asked loudly. Obviously, the person who had swapped the golden Buddha treasure bowl was the shadow that flashed by just now. To be able to snatch the golden alms bowl from his hands in an instant and even put a stone in it, this person's cultivation was definitely not simple. Demon Lord? I'm not dead yet, and you dare to call yourself the Devil Monarch? As a familiar voice rang out, Yi Fan's figure appeared out of thin air a few hundred feet away from him. The dazzling golden Buddha treasure bowl was held in his palm at this moment. When they saw Yi Fan appear out of thin air again, the demons were so shocked that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The person who snatched the golden Buddha treasure bowl was actually Yi Fan. "You weren't you kept in my golden alms bowl?" The white-robed Yi Fan's eyes widened as he asked in disbelief. "You can use your doppelganger, but can't I?" Yi Fan raised his eyebrows and asked as he played with the golden alms bowl in front of his eyes. Doppelganger. The guy who was kept in the golden alms bowl was actually a doppelganger. The white-robed Yi Fan was suddenly enlightened. This guy first used the heavenly demon's blood creation technique to create a physical body in an instant, making him think that he had caught him. Then, he took advantage of his carelessness to snatch the golden alms bowl from his hands. Despicable! The white-robed Yi Fan scolded angrily. Same here, Yi Fan said as he tapped the golden Buddha treasure bowl with his finger and put it next to his ear. Seeing that the golden Buddha treasure bowl was in Yi Fan's hands, the inner demons immediately retreated. Without the golden Buddha treasure bowl, they were no match for Yi Fan. Moreover, Yi Fan still had the myriad demons' treasure fan in his hands that could resist all demon spirit attacks. "It's my turn now." Yi Fan weighed the golden Buddha treasure bowl in his hands and said with an evil smile. When the inner demons heard that, they immediately used their body movement techniques and fled in all directions. The 11 green lights dispersed and fled in different directions at high speed. Yi Fan curled his lips and bent his 5 fingers into a claw. He pinched the 3-inch golden Buddha treasure bowl in his hand and slowly aimed the opening of the bowl at the inner demons who were fleeing in all directions. He suddenly activated the golden Buddha treasure bowl. Seeing that Yi Fan activated the golden Buddha treasure bowl, the white-robed Yi Fan who was floating in the air sneered. Activating the golden Buddha treasure bowl required a Buddhist secret incantation. Without the secret incantation, it was useless. However, he was wrong. Yi Fan's dragon traversing the heavens' spiritual energy was so strong that it had far surpassed the Daluo golden celestial realm. His spiritual energy was so strong that he could forcibly activate the golden Buddha treasure bowl. Buzz! The golden Buddha treasure bowl trembled for a while before it suddenly became 9 inches large and shone with golden light. What? This guy could actually activate the golden Buddha treasure bowl. The white-robed Yi Fan was shocked by the scene in front of him. He instantly gasped. Without the secret incantation, this guy could actually use his spiritual energy to activate the golden Buddha treasure bowl. Swoosh! As Yi Fan activated his spiritual energy, a golden light pillar that was about 1 foot thick shot out from the golden Buddha treasure bowl. Swoosh! The huge golden light pillar illuminated the entire sea of clouds and formed a golden cloud path. Ah! The inner demon who was dressed like a scholar bore the brunt of the attack and was instantly hit by the light pillar. He screamed as his primordial spirit was instantly torn apart. Whoosh! His corpse fell from the sea of clouds. Yi Fan sneered and began to activate the golden Buddha treasure bowl in his hand. Swoosh! The huge golden light pillar was like a golden light whip that swept across the sea of clouds. Ugh, ouch! No matter how fast the inner demons were, they were not faster than the golden light of the golden Buddha treasure bowl. In the blink of an eye, 11 inner demons had their primordial spirits shattered and died on the spot. Their corpses fell in pieces into the mountain stream below, turning into minced meat. How is it? Can you tell me how you got my body this time? Yi Fan retracted the golden light and asked the white-robed Yi Fan with a smile. Do you think you can control me just because you have the golden Buddha treasure bowl? The white-robed inner demon looked at Yi Fan and asked with a smile. Aren't you afraid that I'll use the golden Buddha treasure bowl to subdue you? Yi Fan asked with a smile. Use the golden Buddha treasure bowl to subdue me? Ha ha. The white-robed inner demon put his hands behind his back and laughed. You can try. Yi Fan's lips curled as he activated the golden Buddha treasure bowl again. Swoosh, the golden light appeared again and enveloped the inner demon. Humph! The white-robed Yi Fan smiled faintly when he saw the 10,000 rays of golden light shooting toward him. He then extended a single hand into the air. Buzz! With a burst of dazzling golden light, a dazzling golden demon subduing pestle appeared in the white-robed Yi Fan's palm. The pestle was more than 7 feet long. One end was a Vajra pestle, while the other end was a 3-pointed blade. It was surrounded by golden light and looked like a treasure. Could it be the demon subduing pestle? When he saw the dazzling golden demon subduing pestle in the inner demon's hand, Yi Fan frowned and thought to himself. While Yi Fan was still in a state of shock, the white-robed inner demon carried the pestle on its back and swung it at the incoming golden beam of light. Swoosh! A golden light barrier appeared out of thin air, blocking in front of the white-robed inner demon. The light screen was round and 30 feet in size. It was a picture of the 6 paths of reincarnation. Boom! A loud boom rang out as the golden pillar of light, which was over a foot thick, slammed heavily into the golden light screen. Swoosh! A golden shockwave spread out at a rapid speed. Golden light splashed in all directions, and light fragments swirled in the air. Golden rain filled the sky and scattered. Demon subduing pestle, Yi Fan said with narrowed eyes as he retracted the golden light beam from the golden Buddha treasure bowl. You know your stuff well, the white-robed inner demon said with a smile as he retracted the golden light screen. Yi Fan laughed disdainfully. What are you laughing at? The white-robed inner demon asked Yi Fan. I'm laughing at your stupidity, Yi Fan said with a smile. Even if you have 3 secret weapons today, you can't do anything to me. You're too arrogant, the white-robed inner demon said. Today, I'll show you the power of the demon subduing pestle. As the white-robed inner demon spoke, he activated the demon subduing pestle in his hand again. Buzz! The pestle shone with a dazzling golden light. The white-robed inner demon pointed the tip of the pestle at Yi Fan and launched an attack. Whoosh! Countless golden pestle shadows shot out from the pestle. There were tens of thousands of pestle shadows, and the golden light shone brightly, illuminating the entire sky with golden light. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! Yi Fan unleashed an exceptional movement technique and dodged back and forth among the tens of thousands of pestle shadows. As he dodged, Yi Fan didn't retreat. Instead, he charged toward the white-robed inner demon. As Yi Fan charged forward, he stretched out one of his hands into the air. Buzz! The distant fire sword instantly appeared in his hand. Whoosh! Yi Fan swung the distant fire sword, and a fiery whip of light lashed toward the white-robed inner demon. Seeing this, the white-robed inner demon immediately switched from offense to defense. Buzz! The golden 6 paths of reincarnation pattern appeared out of thin air and stood in front of the white-robed inner demon. Boom! The fiery whip of light landed heavily on the golden pattern, creating an earth-shattering boom. Flames flew everywhere and golden light flashed. Yi Fan's distant fire whip still couldn't do anything to the white-robed inner demon's demon-subduing pestle. What a treasure! Yi Fan thought to himself as he retreated 100 feet away. This demon-subduing pestle was indeed one of the 3 great secret weapons of Tibet. It was indeed powerful. What do you think? What other moves do you have? Feel free to use them, the white-robed inner demon said to Yi Fan with a smile. Your pestle is not bad. I'll take it. Yi Fan said calmly. What? You want to use your clone to do the same thing again? The white-robed inner demon asked. You have a treasure, and so do I. Yi Fan put away the distant fire sword and replied with a smile. Is that so? The white-robed inner demon asked with great interest. He really wanted to know what kind of secret weapon in this world could deal with the demon-subduing pestle in his hand. Then watch carefully, Yi Fan said with a smile. Whoosh! As soon as Yi Fan finished speaking, he disappeared into thin air. This time, the smile on the white-robed inner demon's face disappeared. The reason was very simple. Yi Fan's spiritual pressure had completely disappeared. It was as if it had never appeared. How could it be? The white-robed Yi Fan widened his eyes in disbelief. No matter how fast Yi Fan's movement technique was or how high his cultivation level was, it was impossible for him to hide his spiritual pressure so thoroughly. Even if he could completely hide his spiritual pressure, what about the golden Buddha treasured bowl? Could he hide the domineering Buddhist power? Whoosh! Just as the white-robed inner demon was stunned, the demon-subduing pestle in his hand flew out. The demon-subduing pestle was also taken away. Chapter 1002. How is this possible? This time, the demon-subduing pestle in his hand was snatched away without even a shadow appearing. Even now, he still does not know what method Yi Fan had used to achieve this. Whoosh! The black-robed, silver-haired Yi Fan appeared in the void opposite him. He was holding the golden Buddha treasure bowl in one hand and the demon-subduing pestle in the other. How did you do it? The white-robed inner demon asked Yi Fan angrily. In his opinion, no matter how high Yi Fan's cultivation was, he couldn't hide the auspicious aura of the golden Buddha treasure bowl. I told you, you have a treasure, and so do I, Yi Fan said with a smile. What treasure? The white-robed inner demon asked with a frown. Look, it's this thing. As Yi Fan said that, he thought of something. Buzz, a green bamboo treasure umbrella, appeared above Yi Fan's head out of nowhere. Whoosh! As the umbrella opened, Yi Fan's body disappeared into thin air once again. The heavenly Luo umbrella. The white-robed inner demon was instantly enlightened by the scene before him. No wonder Yi Fan's spiritual pressure and aura disappeared in an instant. Even the auspicious aura from the golden Buddha treasured bowl had disappeared into thin air. This guy has the heavenly Luo umbrella. And this heavenly Luo umbrella was definitely not made by an ordinary person. Most Taoist experts could make heavenly Luo umbrellas, but they could only barely hide their own spiritual pressure and auspicious aura. They couldn't hide their powerful spiritual pressure and auspicious aura at all. The heavenly Luo umbrella in Yi Fan's hand not only blocked Yi Fan's overbearing spiritual pressure but also the auspicious aura of the golden Buddha treasure bowl. The person who made this heavenly Luo umbrella had an unimaginably high cultivation. Slap! While the white-robed inner devil was dumbfounded, a loud slap landed heavily on the inner devil's left cheek. Whoosh! Under the heavy slap, the white-clothed inner devil's body was instantly sent flying. Slap! Before the white-robed demon stopped moving, another slap landed on the right side of his face. His body flew up once again. Feeling the pain, the white-robed Yi Fan immediately activated his protective sphere of light. Buzz, a dazzling green ball of light appeared out of nowhere and enveloped him. Eldritch, if you have the ability, show yourself and fight me for 300 rounds. Hiding under the Heaven Luo umbrella and launching a sneak attack, what kind of ability is that? The white-clothed inner demon covered his face with both hands as he shouted. What? Now that you don't have any treasures, you want to compete fairly with me? Yi Fan appeared in front of the white-robed inner demon and asked with a smile. If you have the ability, fight me one-on-one with your bare hands. That's only fair. The white-clothed inner demon wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and gnashed his teeth. Fair? Humph. Yi Fan sneered. How can a despicable person like you deserve to be called fair? As the Demon King, you actually used secret treasures to kill demons. How admirable, the white-clothed inner demon said with a cold smile. Fine, I'll do as you wish today. I'll let you die willingly, Yi Fan said with a smile. With a thought, the golden Buddha treasure bowl and the demon-subduing pestle in his hand disappeared into thin air. Mysterious Sky Secret Essentials. The moment the two Buddhist treasures disappeared, the white-clothed inner demon shouted and pounced toward Yi Fan, throwing out a palm strike. Buzz in the center of his palm, a white light burst out, radiating with brilliant colors. As the saying goes, the one who strikes first gains the upper hand. While Yi Fan was unprepared, he attacked him fiercely and gained the upper hand. However, he was too naive. Yi Fan's cultivation was far beyond his imagination. Seeing the white-clothed inner demon pouncing toward him, Yi Fan sneered. This impostor only had a superficial understanding of the mysterious sky secret essentials, but he dared to show off in front of Master Guan. One had to know that his mysterious sky secret essentials had reached the domineering level of dragon traversing the heavens. Today, he was going to show this guy what the real mysterious sky secret essentials was. Mysterious sky secret essentials. Yi Fan thought to himself as he threw out a palm strike toward the white-clothed inner demon's light palm. Buzz in Yi Fan's palm, a dazzling golden light shone. Whoosh, a white and a gold light moved towards each other at a speed as fast as lightning. Smack with a deafening sound, the palms of both sides collided. They had the same physique and appearance, and the same unparalleled skills. The two demon kings, one real and one fake, were exchanging blows. As the saying went, how could a sparkling fire compete with the bright moon? As soon as the two sides exchanged blows, the winner was decided. Bam! With 10% of dragon traversing the heavens' spiritual energy, Yi Fan's palm strike completely shattered the inner demon's arm. Flesh flew everywhere, bones were broken, and blood rained down like rain. Pfft! The white-clothed inner demon flew backward as blood gushed from his mouth. Yi Fan sneered as he slowly retracted his palm. What was fake was fake. It could never become real. Huff! The white-robed inner devil urged the devil spirit to stop more than 100 feet away. At this moment, his face was drained of all color, and blood was flowing from his mouth. His pristine white teeth had turned completely red. He leaned on one arm, and his breathing was rapid as he looked up at Yi Fan with a ferocious expression. You want to be a demon king with this little bit of skill? What an arrogant fool! What a joke! Yi Fan put his hands behind his back and looked at the white-clothed inner demon with disdain as he mocked him. In the face of Yi Fan's mockery, the white-clothed inner demon slowly got to his feet. Buzz, as the white-clothed inner demon's severed arm glowed with red light, a new arm slowly appeared. The bones, veins, blood, flesh, skin, and fingers were all regenerating at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the white-clothed inner demon's arm had recovered. He had used the power of the blood demon to heal his shattered right arm. After his arm recovered, the white-clothed inner demon stretched his arm a few times before narrowing his eyes and looking at Yi Fan. You're wasting your energy, Yi Fan said mockingly. You're still going to be crushed by me in a while. Why bother? Proud moon heavenly scripture. The white-clothed inner demon was enraged by Yi Fan's mockery. He let loose an explosive roar as he activated his spiritual power and pounced toward Yi Fan again. Buzz, in the process of charging forward, a gigantic bluish-green light erupted around the white-clothed inner demon, reaching a height of over 100 feet. He struck out his right palm again and pounced towards Yi Fan. If the mysterious heaven secret technique didn't work, then he would use the proud moon heavenly scripture. Proud moon heavenly scripture, Yi Fan said calmly. Once again, he straightened his palm and struck at the white-robed inner demon. As the saying went, one wouldn't cry until they saw the coffin, and one wouldn't give up until they hit the wall. If this guy didn't get a taste of his medicine, he wouldn't know how high the heavens were. Bam! After a loud bang, the white-clothed Yi Fan was sent flying again. This time, his arm wasn't the only thing that had been shattered. His right shoulder had also been shattered by Yi Fan's proud moon heavenly scripture. White bones were everywhere. Whoosh, blood rained down from the sky. Pfff. The white-clothed inner demon spat out another mouthful of blood and landed heavily on the sea of clouds over 100 feet away. This time, he didn't get up for a long time. Whoosh! Yi Fan moved and appeared in front of the white-clothed inner demon. He squatted down and sneered at the white-clothed inner demon lying on the sea of clouds. Gurgle, the white-clothed inner demon spat out a mouthful of blood as he glared at Yi Fan with rage in his eyes. "I'm asking you, are you going to tell me or not?" Yi Fan asked the inner demon. Buzz, the white-clothed inner demon glowed red again. Whoosh! Shredded flesh on his shoulder began to grow rapidly. He used his actions to answer Yi Fan's question. "Looks like you're not going to tell me." Yi Fan nodded slowly at the sight of the white-clothed inner demon activating the power of the blood demon. As Yi Fan spoke, the fingers on his right hand formed a claw. Buzz, a huge blood-red claw appeared out of thin air. PFFF. After the sky demon claw appeared, Yi Fan flipped his hand and plunged the 5 claw of light into the white-clothed inner demon's chest. The claw of light penetrated several inches deep into the inner demon's bones. The white-clothed inner demon let out a blood-curdling scream as soon as the sky demon claw entered his body. He didn't cry out even when his arm was shattered twice. However, the sky demon claw had only penetrated several inches into his body when he began to howl uncontrollably. Yi Fan's sky demon claw had not only penetrated his body, but also his primordial spirit. It was too late for him to escape from this body even if he wanted to. After plunging the claw into the inner demon's body, Yi Fan's lips curled up and his eyes narrowed. Countless wisps of blood-red light flowed out of the white-clothed inner demon's body and flowed along Yi Fan's 5 claw of light into Yi Fan's arm. He was sucking away the demonic blood from the inner demon's body. Without the demonic blood, this fellow would lose the power of the sky demon. Buzz, as the demonic blood was continuously sucked away by Yi Fan, the inner demon's rapidly growing flesh instantly stopped. Once the demonic blood was gone, the white-clothed inner demon let out a heart-wrenching cry again. At this point, his entire body had already started to shrivel up. "Are you going to tell me or not?" Yi Fan asked calmly as he continued to suck the blood. "Even if you kill me, I won't say." "Heh. Heh." The white-clothed inner demon forced himself to raise his head as he spoke to Yi Fan with a sinister smile. "Then you can go to hell." Seeing how stubborn the inner demon was, Yi Fan narrowed his eyes and suddenly plunged the sky demon's claw of light straight into the inner demon's chest. At the same time, he also sucked away all the spiritual energy and blood from the inner demon's body and directly shattered the inner demon's primordial spirit. In an instant, the white-clothed inner demon turned into a wrinkled, silver-haired mummy with a fearful expression. The inner demon who had impersonated Yi Fan and killed the 3 bellkeepers had died in the hands of Yi Fan just like that. Yi Fan pulled out the sky demon's claw of light and then flicked his sleeves at the mummy in front of him. Ting! The mummy instantly burst into flames. Yi Fan stood up and quietly looked at the flames in front of him. Because of this abandoned body, the 3 bellkeepers had died instantly. If someone were to investigate this matter, he would have to bear some responsibility. Although this fellow had been completely killed by him, he still hadn't been able to get the information he wanted from him. But no matter what, something like this would never happen again in the future. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew past, and the burning mummy turned into red sparks and dissipated with the wind. Yi Fan heaved a sigh of relief and turned to leave. "Amitba, almsgiver Yi, please wait." Chapter 1003. After hearing this old voice, Yi Fan frowned and slowly turned around. More than 10 feet in front of him, 2 monks dressed like monks were floating in the air. One of the monks wore a gray robe and 6 monk shoes. There was a string of 108 Bodhi beads hanging in front of his chest. This monk looked to be at least in his 60s. He was thin, had white hair, and had a kind face. The monk standing beside him was dressed like a Tibetan lama. This person wore a purple-red robe and a monk's hat. His right shoulder was exposed and he held a string of colorful beads in his hand. This Lama was different from the Chinese monk from before. He was tall and had dark skin, like half an iron tower. The two of them, one Han and one Zhang, one green and one red, were very conspicuous in this starry night sky. You two are? Yi Fan asked the two of them. Amitabha, my Buddhist name is Bienkong. This is the new Dharma king of Tibet, Guja Rinpoche. The gray-robed old monk put his palms together and politely introduced himself to Yi Fan. At the same time, the red-robed Lama also put his palms together and nodded slightly to Yi Fan. Do the two of you know me? Yi Fan frowned. He put his palms together and returned their greetings as he asked the two of them. Yi Fan was very respectful towards the Buddhist sect. Of course, monks like Gesang Dorji were not included. Benefactor Yi is the reincarnation of Eldritch, the king of the devil world. How can I not know you? The gray-robed old monk said with a smile. Why are you looking for me? Yi Fan asked. The gray-robed old monk nodded. Don't tell me you're here to subdue me? Yi Fan asked cautiously. He was the king of the devil world, and the two in front of him were obviously eminent monks, the leading figures of Buddhism. The meeting between the leading figures of Buddhism and the king of the devil world was definitely not just for tea. Benefactor Yi, you've misunderstood, the gray-robed old monk said kindly to Yi Fan. I'm here to help Dharma King Gujia retrieve the two Buddhist treasures, the golden Buddha bowl and the demon-subduing pestle. Upon hearing the gray-robed old monk's words, Yi Fan understood the purpose of their visit. It turned out that they wanted to take back the two Buddhist treasures that the white-clothed inner devil had stolen. I see. Yi Fan nodded. The gray-robed old monk smiled and nodded. These two Buddhist treasures belong to the hidden ground. Why does Master Bukong want to interfere? Yi Fan asked the gray-robed old monk calmly. Amitabha. The gray-robed old monk put his palms together and called Amitabha. It doesn't matter if it's Tibetan or Han, they are both Buddhist sections. Dharma King Gujia doesn't understand Chinese and is afraid of causing a misunderstanding with Benefactor Yi, so he specially came from Tibet to ask for my help. That's why I came to see Benefactor Yi. Yi Fan understood the meaning behind the gray-robed old monk's words very clearly. He understood it very well. What he meant was that Dharma King Gujia had originally wanted to find Yi Fan alone to retrieve the two Tibetan treasures. However, due to the language barrier, he couldn't communicate with Yi Fan. In addition, Yi Fan was prejudiced against the Tibetan monks during the demon-slaying conference. He was worried that he would cause a misunderstanding with Yi Fan and end up in a fight. That was why he sought help from the Han Vedanta. The golden Buddha bowl caused me to suffer in the great snowy mountains of Tibet. The demon-subduing pestle was used by evil people to kill me. If I return these two treasures to the Dharma King, who knows if they will be used against me in the future? Yi Fan looked at Dharma King Gujia and asked. Dharma King Gujia, who was wearing a purple-red robe, immediately looked at the gray-robed old monk in confusion when he saw Yi Fan speak to him. The gray-robed old monk translated Yi Fan's words to him in Tibetan. After the red-robed Dharma King heard this, he turned his head to look at Yi Fan and said a few words in Tibetan. Dharma King Gujia said that Gesang Dorji was indeed in the wrong during the demon-slaying conference. He represents the great snowy mountains to apologize to Yi Fan. The gray-robed old monk said to Yi Fan, however, the ones who stole these two treasures were your subordinates. The demons stole the Buddhist treasures. No matter what, Benefactor Yi is also responsible for not disciplining them strictly. Since both sides cancel each other out, it can be said that we don't owe each other anything. As for whether these two treasures will be used to subdue Benefactor Yi in the future, that will depend on whether Benefactor Yi will be able to cause great suffering. Yi Fan was stunned when he heard this. Then, he smiled in relief. Although Dharma King Gujia was not proficient in Mandarin, his words were very polite and courteous. During the demon-slaying conference, this person was not a Dharma King. Logically speaking, this matter had nothing to do with him. However, even so, he still apologized to him on behalf of the great snowy mountains as a Dharma king. This was a courtesy. Without taking back the 2 secret treasures, he said that whether the 2 secret treasures would be used to subdue him in the future would depend on whether he would be able to cause great suffering. This was a courtesy. Apart from that, he also gave him the responsibility of not disciplining him strictly. This was a reason. In just a few words, he included all manners, propriety, and reason. This made Yi Fan, who had always been eloquent, speechless. Dharma King is indeed a Dharma King. His words are indeed impressive and sharp. I admire him so much that I have nothing to say. Yi Fan saluted the purple-robed Dharma King Gu Jia and said respectfully. Dharma King Gu Jia did not understand Mandarin and immediately turned his head to look at the gray-robed old monk. The gray-robed old monk nodded at Dharma King Gu Jia. Dharma King Gu Jia understood and immediately put his palms together to return the greeting to Yi Fan. I'll return the 2 Buddhist treasures to you now. As Yi Fan spoke, he stretched out his hands into the air. Buzz, 2 golden flames rose from Yi Fan's hands. The golden Buddha treasure bowl and demon-subduing pestle appeared out of thin air. Yi Fan walked slowly in front of Dharma King Gu Jia and presented the 2 Buddhist treasures with both hands. Dharma King Gu Jia nodded at Yi Fan and took the 2 Buddhist treasures. Amitabha, good indeed. The gray-robed old monk closed his eyes, put his palms together and chanted Amitabha. He thought that Yi Fan would have a conflict with Dharma King Gu Jia. He did not expect this to happen. This surprised him greatly and at the same time, made him feel emotional. This eldritch reincarnated as the Devil King of the Devil World was indeed as rumored. He abhorred evil, but he was also a reasonable person. The Buddhist treasures have been returned to their rightful owners. Master Bikong, Dharma King Gu Jia, I'll take my leave. Yi Fan said and bowed to the 2 of them. He turned around and prepared to leave. However, the moment Yi Fan turned around, he realized that the 2 monks were already standing in front of him. Seeing this, Yi Fan was shocked. The 2 monks did not use any spiritual energy or movement skills. It was as if they appeared out of thin air. The Buddhist divine power was indeed worthy of its reputation. Is there anything else? Yi Fan calmed himself down and asked the 2 of them. Dharma King Gu Jia smiled and took off the string of Buddhist beads on his wrist and handed it to Yi Fan. Obviously, he wanted to give this string of Buddhist beads to Yi Fan. Dharma King, I can't accept this, whoosh. Before Yi Fan could finish his sentence, the tall Dharma King Gu Jia grabbed Yi Fan's hand and put the Buddhist beads on Yi Fan's wrist. When the Buddhist beads were put on, Yi Fan felt dizzy. However, he quickly regained his senses. Dharma King, these Buddhist beads? Yi Fan asked Dharma King Gu Jia. Dharma King Gu Jia said a few words in Tibetan, then looked at the gray-robed old monk and asked him to translate for Yi Fan. This string of Buddhist prayer beads is the Dharmaraja's personal item for cultivation. It is made from 12 ancient mammoth heavenly pearls and is infused with the power of Buddha. It is extremely rare in this world. The gray-robed old monk translated. Although you have entered the demonic path, your heart is clear and you are benevolent and righteous. You are truly rare. However, the demonic aura in your body is getting stronger and stronger and it will become a huge problem in the future. I will give you this string of mammoth heavenly pearls to help you suppress the demonic aura. This is too precious. Yi Fan looked at the string of grand elephant heavenly beads in his hand and frowned. He had heard about the grand elephant heavenly beads. It was said that this item was a Buddhist treasure passed down from ancient times. It was called the head of the 7 treasures and was extremely precious. Even 1 bead was extremely rare, let alone 12 of them. Even the Yi family, who were used to seeing all kinds of treasures, had never seen this item. You have an affinity with Buddha. Keep this string of Buddhist beads with you. the gray-robed old monk said to Yi Fan. "In the future, when the karma is ripe, we will meet again." As the gray-robed old monk spoke, he looked behind Yi Fan. Yi Fan instinctively turned around. There was no one behind him. When he turned around, he realized that the two monks had disappeared into thin air. It was as if they had never appeared. Looking at the string of grand elephant heavenly beads in his hand, Yi Fan stood in the clouds for a long time. Obviously, the dizziness he felt earlier was the effect of the grand elephant heavenly beads. Chapter 1004. When the two returned to the Lingyun cave, it was already late at night. But at this time, the two were not sleepy. After settling the sleepy Baihu down, the two began to get busy. Akatsuki put on an apron and went to the kitchen to cook. Yi Fan went to the wine storage and took out a jar of 100 flowers drunk. He also went to the ice storage and took out a few plates of fruit. It was obvious that the two were very happy. After all, the impostor who pretended to be Yi Fan and did evil was killed by Yi Fan. From now on, similar things would never happen again. Soon, 4 cold and 4 hot dishes were placed on the stone table. The two sat facing each other. "Today, you've settled one of your worries. It's worth celebrating. Come, I'll drink with you." Akatsuki picked up the wine jar and filled the 2 stone cups to the brim. "It's indeed worth celebrating, but," Yi Fan looked at Akatsuki and said with a smile, "today, you're not allowed to drink the whole jar like last time. Are you worried about your 100 flowers drunk, or are you worried about me?" Akatsuki put down the wine jar and asked Yi Fan with a smile. "What do you think?" Yi Fan asked with a smile. "I don't know," Akatsuki said with a curl of her lips. "Still playing dumb with me." Yi Fan picked up a piece of fish and put it on Akatsuki's porcelain plate and said with a smile. Akatsuki smiled and lowered her head to eat the fish. "There are still 2 days before I start cultivating the shocking moon chapter of the proud moon heavenly movement. I've thought about it. These 2 days I'll give it all to you." Yi Fan put down his chopsticks and said to Akatsuki, "Give it all to me? What do you mean?" Akatsuki raised her head and looked at Yi Fan with her beautiful eyes and asked, "Whatever you want to do these 2 days, I'll do it with you. I'll listen to your arrangements," Yi Fan said with a smile. "Really?" Akatsuki was stunned at first. Then, her eyes lit up with joy. She even forgot to chew the fish in her mouth. "When have I ever lied to you?" Yi Fan stared into Akatsuki's eyes and asked with a smile. Hearing Yi Fan say this, Akatsuki's eyes suddenly turned red, and a few drops of crystal-clear tears fell down. She had known Yi Fan for so long, but this was the first time he had spared precious time to accompany her. Moreover, it was for 2 days. To her, this was simply a luxury. "Look at you, why are you crying again?" Yi Fan said with a smile as he reached out to wipe Akatsuki's tears. "I'm happy," Akatsuki said with a choked voice with a smile on her face. "If you're happy, you should smile, not cry. Do you understand?" Yi Fan scratched Akatsuki's nose and joked. Although Yi Fan looked like he was smiling, he felt very upset. This Japanese woman's infatuation with him made him feel very guilty. Thinking that this woman would leave him one day, Yi Fan felt like his heart was being cut by a knife. In these 2 days, he wanted to accompany her and make it up to her, because they didn't have much time left together. Hearing Yi Fan say this, Akatsuki smiled and nodded, but she cried even harder. She knew that Yi Fan was making it up to her, because it wouldn't be long before the two of them would be separated forever. "If you cry again, I'll have to take back my order," Yi Fan said with a smile. If Akatsuki continued crying like this, he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't cry as well. This move was indeed effective. When Yi Fan said this, Akatsuki immediately pursed her lips and tried her best to hold back her tears. "Where do you want to go tomorrow? I'll take you there." Yi Fan took out a handkerchief from his bosom and wiped Akatsuki's tears as he asked gently. I'll listen to you," Wherever you say. I'll go. Akatsuki held back her tears and said with a choked voice. Didn't I say it? I'll take you wherever you want to go. It's all up to you. Yifan tucked a lock of Akatsuki's long hair behind her ear and said softly. I want to go to a place where no one will disturb us, just the two of us, okay? Akatsuki mustered up her courage and asked Yifan with red eyes. For a long time, this wish had been suppressed in her heart, and she didn't dare to say it to Yifan. Yifan's time was too precious. He had to search for the cauldron, he had to secretly contend with Matsumoto Takeyoshi, he had to take care of Xiao Zhao, he had to protect the demon realm, he had to share the worries of his clan, he had to contribute to his country. There were far too many things he had to do. If Yifan hadn't brought it up today, perhaps Akatsuki would have kept this wish buried in her heart. Silly girl, of course you can. Yifan gently stroked Akatsuki's waterfall-like hair, and said with heartache in the next 2 days, Yifan left the Fire Kirin and Xiao Zhao in the Lingyun cave while he took Akatsuki to travel all over the world. He took Akatsuki to the high clouds to see the red clouds filling the sky. They went to the vast desert to see the sun rise and the moon set. They went to the plains beyond the Great Wall to see the white sheep galloping on their horses. They went to the Yunnan Dali to see the endless sea of flowers, the falling leaves, and the flying flowers. As long as it was a wonder of the world, Yifan took Akatsuki to see it, no matter where it was. In these 2 days, Yu Hongji had changed from her usual cold and steady personality. She was like a child, cheering and jumping for joy, laughing and playing. She and Yifan made snowmen and had snowball fights in Rakshasa country. They tasted fine grape wine in Tubo country and lived a drunken life. They ate handheld mutton and drank Mongolian milk tea in Mongolia. Although it was only a short 2 days, it was the happiest time in Akatsuki's life. In these 2 days, she didn't think about leaving, didn't think about being sad, and didn't think about anything unhappy. She wanted to enjoy being alone with Yifan. In these 2 days, Yifan belonged to her, and only to her. Tonight's moonlight is really beautiful. Yu Hongji raised her head to look at the bright golden moon in the sky and murmured. She stood on top of the mountain peak, and looked at the golden moon in the sky. Under the strong wind, Akatsuki's red robe and long hair fluttered. Coupled with her tall and curvy figure and peerless exquisite face, she was simply like a goddess descending to the mortal world. At this time, it was less than 6 hours since Yifan started cultivating the moon-shocking chapter of the Proud Moon heavenly scripture, and the mountain under their feet was already at the border of another country. It was at least 10,000 li away from the Phoenix Cry Mountains Lingyun cave. A beauty with a beautiful scenery, a perfect pair. Standing beside her, Yifan gently draped a black cloak over Akatsuki's body, and said with a smile. Akatsuki turned her head to look at Yifan and affectionately leaned her head on Yifan's shoulder. Yifan put his hand on Akatsuki's shoulder and looked up at the vast starry sky. Is there really Chang-i in the Moon Palace? Akatsuki gently asked Yifan. There should be. Yifan replied. Guarding the Moon Palace by yourself, isn't it lonely? Akatsuki continued to ask. How could an immortal be lonely? Yifan replied. If it was me, I wouldn't want to be an immortal. Akatsuki said. Why? Yifan asked Akatsuki. To be an immortal, one has to be emotionless. I can't do it, and I don't want to do it. Akatsuki replied. If you don't want to be an immortal, then what do you want to be? Yifan asked with a smile. I want to be your wife, even if it's only for a day. Akatsuki calmly said. At this point, she didn't want to suppress these words in the bottom of her heart. If she did, she might not have the courage to say it in this lifetime. Akatsuki's words caused Yifan's body to tremble. The hand holding Akatsuki involuntarily tightened. He didn't expect Akatsuki to say these words at this moment. At this moment, his mind was in a mess and his blood was boiling. He hugged Yu Hongji's shoulder tightly and didn't say anything. Yifan, Kun, let's go back. After a long while, Akatsuki turned to look at Yi Fan and said gently, "Okay." Yi Fan replied, "I want you to carry me back. Can I?" Akatsuki's eyes were clear as she asked Yi Fan. Yi Fan didn't say anything. He directly carried Akatsuki by the waist. Akatsuki wrapped her arms around Yi Fan's neck and gently leaned her head against Yi Fan's chest. The sense of security brought about by Yi Fan's heartbeat made her intoxicated and unable to extricate herself. Whoosh! Yi Fan's robes fluttered in the wind as he slowly floated away from the mountain peak. Akatsuki gently opened her red lips and sang a classic Japanese song, Side of a Gentleman. My dearest husband, my dearest lover, at this moment, beside you is the surging sea, or is it the graceful dancer? Is it the rumbling of the war drums, or that befuddled and gentle home? Husband, don't forget your hometown, don't forget your wife's room, don't forget your hometown, don't forget your wife's room. Akatsuki's voice was ethereal and mellow. In this silent night, it was as pleasant as celestial music. Listening to Akatsuki softly sing the love song, Yi Fan hugged Akatsuki even tighter. 4 hours later, the two of them returned to the Lingyun cave. Throughout the entire process, Akatsuki didn't say anything. She lay quietly in Yi Fan's arms as if she was asleep. Yi Fan also hugged Akatsuki tightly without relaxing at all. "Hongji, we're here." Yi Fan's feet landed in the Lingyun cave as he spoke to Akatsuki. "Hug me a little longer, just a little longer." Akatsuki tightly wrapped her arms around Yi Fan's neck as she spoke softly. "Okay." Yi Fan agreed. He carried Yu Hongji and walked step by step through the fake mountain and waterfall. He walked up the stairs step by step. After arriving at Akatsuki's stone room, Yi Fan slowly placed Akatsuki, who was in his arms, on the stone bed. "It's getting late. You should rest well." Yi Fan gently covered Akatsuki with a brocade quilt as he spoke softly. As he spoke, he stood up and prepared to leave. The moment he turned around, Akatsuki sat up on the bed and hugged Yi Fan from behind. Yi Fan gently released Akatsuki's hands, then turned around and said, "Be good and rest well." He understood what Akatsuki meant. Although he wanted to, he couldn't do that. To him, Akatsuki was like a sparkling and translucent crystal, pure and untainted by even a speck of dust. Chapter 1005. After comforting Akatsuki, Yi Fan walked out of the stone door. He checked on the sleeping Baihu Xiao Zhao, then patted the fire Kirin's huge dragon head, indicating for it to follow him. The fire Kirin understood and followed behind Yi Fan. Just like that, a man and a Kirin arrived at the top of Phoenix Cry Mountain. After arriving at the top of the mountain, Yi Fan sat cross-legged, his eyes focused on his nose, and his nose focused on his heart. He was completely disheartened, concealing his spirit and chi. In less than half an incense's time, it was time to cultivate the proud moon heavenly scripture. He wanted to use this half an hour to calm his mind, clear his mind of all distracting thoughts, and adjust his body and mind to a state of emptiness. The moon heavenly scripture was no small matter. He had to ensure that there were no mistakes, otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. It must be known that the moon heavenly scripture's realm had already reached a stage where it could slay immortals and destroy gods. The fire Kirin lay on its side beside Yi Fan, quietly and motionlessly. The raging flames around his body illuminated the entire Phoenix Cry mountain peak with a fiery red light. Yi Fan sat there for half an hour. After half an hour, he slowly opened his eyes. It was time to cultivate. "Fire Kirin, I want to cultivate, help me guard." Yi Fan raised his head to look at the golden full moon in Yikong, and said to the fire Kirin. The fire Kirin stood up, shook its huge dragon head, and spat out a few flames from its mouth and nose as a response to Yi Fan. It moved its 4 flaming hooves, and directly arrived in front of the cliff. It turned its huge fiery lion eyes, and looked around vigilantly. From now on, it was responsible for Yi Fan's safety. Yi Fan slowly took off his 8-treasure jade-embroidered robe, and his upper body was bare. The Proud Moon Heavenly Chapter's shocking Moon Chapter's power was not inferior to the mysterious sky secret techniques dragon traversing the heavens. After the spiritual energy entered the body, it would instantly travel to all the veins in the body, even to every pore. In that case, it would produce a huge energy fluctuation. If he wore the 8-treasure jade silk robe that was impervious to swords and spears, it would hinder the release of energy, which was not conducive to cultivation. Fortunately, the Proud Moon Heavenly Seal's spiritual energy was extremely soft and een. It was not like the dragon traversing the heavens which needed to be soaked in ice to release its heat. After folding the robe, Yi Fan closed his eyes and began to practice the 4th stage of the Proud Moon Heavenly Scripture, the Shocking Moon Chapter. Buzz with a thought, Yi Fan's chest instantly flashed with brilliance, and spiritual energy surged. He was opening up his chi completely. In order to cultivate the Proud Moon Heavenly Scripture, one needed to completely empty their chi in order to accept new spiritual energy. Whoosh! Tens of thousands of dazzling rainbow-colored lights gushed out from Yi Fan's chi. With 2 high-pitched phoenix cries, the Spirit Phoenix and the Moon Phoenix flew out from the rainbow-colored brilliance and flapped their wings. The spiritual energy of the 2 ultimate techniques had already left his body. After leaving Yi Fan's chi, the 2 spiritual birds flapped their wings and circled above Yi Fan's head. The phoenix cries did not stop. Buzz, the golden tyrant dragon tattoo on Yi Fan's back shone brightly and 2 rays of golden light shot out from the dragon's eyes. Roar! A low and domineering dragon roar instantly sounded. Whoosh! In the midst of the dragon's roar, the golden dragon flew out from Yi Fan's back with its head held high. The moment it flew out of Yi Fan's body, the golden dragon's body expanded and became 3 feet thick and dozens of feet long. After leaving Yi Fan's body, the golden dragon turned its head and turned its huge dragon body. It completely coiled around Yi Fan's body within 9 feet of him. The golden scales flickered and the dragon's claws scratched the air. Golden light shone everywhere and its aura was shocking. Spirit Phoenix, Moon Phoenix, Tyrant Dragon, Fire Kirin. The 4 spiritual beasts started to protect Yi Fan at the same time. The 2 phoenixes circled above his head and the golden dragon surrounded his body. The Fire Kirin guarded his side. It was like an impenetrable fortress. At this time, Akatsuki had already left the stone room and arrived at the top of Phoenix Cry Mountain. When Yi Fan was breaking through, how could she stand by and watch? She wanted to protect Yi Fan. However, when she pushed open the stone door to the top of the mountain, Akatsuki was stunned by the scene in front of her. The 5 colors of the Spirit Phoenix, the green glow of the Moon Phoenix, the golden glow of the Tyrant Dragon, and the fiery red of the Fire Kirin. The 4 spiritual beasts had already lit up the entire Phoenix Cry Mountain with 9 different colors. It was dazzling. At this time, there were phoenix cries and dragon roars coming from the top of Phoenix Cry Mountain. Light shined in all directions and spiritual energy surged. It was like the world of immortals. Seeing the strange scene in front of her, Akatsuki's worried heart calmed down. With the 4 spiritual beasts protecting him, even if Xietion's 9 demon guards were to move out, they would not be able to touch a single finger of Yi Fan's. Not to mention that the cold dragon departing fire had not appeared yet, who, when Akatsuki's heart calmed down, wild winds began to blow in all directions. Akatsuki instinctively looked into the sky. Looking up was fine, but with a single look, her beautiful eyes opened wide in shock. She saw that in the sky, countless black clouds were coming from all directions, surging in the direction of Phoenix Cry Mountain. The black clouds were as black as ink, surging like a raging sea. The sea of clouds gathered very quickly and in an instant, the stars in the sky were swallowed up. Even the bright golden full moon was swallowed by the rolling sea of clouds. What was going on? Didn't the shocking moon chapter not require heavenly tribulation? Why were there black clouds covering the sky? Akatsuki looked at the sudden change in the sky and her heart was filled with anxiety. She wanted to warn Yifan, but she could not do so. Yifan was in the middle of his cultivation and the biggest taboo was to be disturbed. If she were to speak rashly, it would affect Yifan's state of mind. When that happens, Yifan would be in even more danger. She couldn't say it, but she also couldn't not say it. Akatsuki anxiously stomped her feet. Yifan, who was protected by the 4 spiritual beasts, also slightly knit his brows. Although his eyes were closed, he could feel everything that was happening in the outside world. As for the sudden change in the sky, he could not understand it no matter how much he thought about it. This kind of situation, there was no record of it in the proud moon heavenly scripture. For today's trial, he would have to feel the stones to cross the river. He didn't know how his luck was today and if he could pass this trial. Yifan thought in his heart. Whoosh, the sea of black clouds gathered in one spot above Phoenix Cry Mountain and then started to rotate slowly, forming a huge whirlpool. The whirlpool was 1,000 feet in size. It was dark and deep, making people feel intimidated just by looking at it. Roar, looking at the rotating black clouds in the sky, the fire Kirin, who was standing on the cliff, opened its eyes wide and let out a low roar. It bared its dragon teeth, and its body suddenly expanded to 90 feet in size. Boom! Boom! The fire Kirin moved its huge dragon claws and stomped on the bluestone ground with a loud boom. At the same time, the spirit phoenix and moon phoenix circling above Yifan's head and tail instantly connected, and spiritual light burst out in all directions. The golden Tyrannosaurus, which was 9 feet away from Yifan, also quickly narrowed the circle and was less than 3 feet away from Yifan. The 4 spirit beasts sensed the change in the sky and started to protect Yifan with all their might. Clang! Clang! Following the roar of a tiger and a dragon, 2 rays of light, one silver and one red, appeared out of nowhere. The ice dragon and departing fire appeared together. The 2 divine weapons glowed brightly and started to circle around Yifan. Clang! Clang! Just as the ice dragon and departing fire appeared, 2 rays of light, one black and one green, flashed from Yifan's body. The black ray of light was the demon realm's divine weapon, Blood Drinker Saber. And the green ray of light was Eldritch's divine weapon from his previous life, Crescent Moon Saber. This time, the 2 divine weapons, one righteous and one evil, appeared at the same time for the first time. Whoosh, the 8 treasures jade-embroidered robe stacked at the side seemed to have a mind of its own at this moment. It instantly floated up and quickly put on Yifan's body. Whoosh. At this moment, Akatsuki also used her movement technique and appeared in front of the fire Kirin. With the phoenix wing saber in her hand, she directly activated her spiritual power to the maximum. Boom! A red light, which was thousands of feet in length, rose from Akatsuki's body and enveloped the entire Phoenix Cry Mountain. Wu, the white fox, Xiao Zhao, also came out. It directly jumped onto the head of the fire Kirin and bared its teeth at the black cloud vortex in the sky. The 4 great spiritual beasts, the 4 great divine weapons, the robe, his confidant, and his sworn sister from his previous life had all appeared. Even the black feather saber that Matsumoto Takeyoshi gave to Yifan was also unsheathed and stabbed into the limestone in front of Yifan, vibrating non-stop. They only had one goal, and that was to protect Yifan. 2 streams of hot tears fell silently from Yifan's tightly shut eyes. Everything was protecting him, and this made him, who had always thought of himself as strong, inexplicably moved as tears welled up in his eyes. At this moment, he was at the bottleneck of his cultivation and could not take any measures. He could only continue to cultivate. Regardless of whether it was endless lightning or unparalleled spiritual power, He had to accept it all. Amitba, Eldritch is in trouble, this old monk cannot sit by and do nothing. In a small temple in the mountains thousands of miles away, an old monk with white hair and beard was sitting cross-legged in meditation. Senior brother, when I met this person with Dharma King Gujia a few days ago, we found that this person's spiritual power is extremely profound, far beyond that of a golden immortal. For him, this thunder tribulation should not be a problem. Opposite the old monk, another gray-robed old monk sitting cross-legged on a bed of clouds spoke. This person was none other than the senior monk who went with Dharma King Gujia to ask for the Buddhist treasure, Master Bikong. You don't understand, the thunder tribulation Eldritch is facing this time is not a tribulation for cultivators. The old monk's gaze was deep as he spoke calmly. Not a tribulation for cultivators, could it be? Monk Bikong's expression changed as he frowned. Killing tribulation, the old monk said. Amitba. Monk Bikong put his palms together and frowned as he chanted Amitba. If the thunder tribulation was to test cultivators, then the killing tribulation was a heavenly tribulation specially used to kill evil spirits. Eldritch is fated with Buddha, we have to help him in this tribulation, the old monk said as he walked down from the bed of clouds. Senior brother, in my opinion, you don't have to do it yourself. Monk Bikong also got down from the bed of clouds and spoke to the old monk. You mean? The old monk seemed to understand Monk Bikong's meaning. Isn't his sworn brother cultivating in this temple? This matter can be solved by him, Monk Bikong said. Chapter 1006. Rumble, thunder rumbled in the sky above Phoenix Cry Mountain. Crack, crack, countless purple lightning bolts shuttled back and forth in the huge black cloud vortex, flashing continuously. Hongji, hurry up and take Xiao Zhao away from here. Yi Fan, whose silver hair danced in the wind, opened his eyes and shouted at Akatsuki. He had already sensed that the heavenly lightning this time was unusual. During the previous two tribulations, although the heavenly lightning was rolling, it contained endless spiritual energy and ultimate power. However, this time, he felt a murderous aura, a thunderous fury. He had a faint premonition that this time, the heavens might want to take his life. As for why the heavens wanted to kill him, he did not know. Perhaps it was because he had entered the demon Tao, or perhaps it was because he had killed too many people, or perhaps it was because of the evil aura in his body, or perhaps it was because of his previous life's destiny. There were too many possibilities. Since the heavens wanted to kill him, then the heavenly lightning this time would not be comparable to the previous two. If the heavens wanted to kill someone, it was simply too easy. Since ancient times, who could defy the heavens? It was because of this that Yi Fan asked Akatsuki and Xiao Zhao to leave this place. The 4 spiritual beasts, the 5 divine weapons, and the jade luo robe might be able to avoid the heavenly lightning. After all, they were spiritual beasts and treasures. However, to Akatsuki and Baihu Xiao Zhao, it was impossible for them to avoid the heavenly lightning. If we live together. If we die together. In the fierce wind, Akatsuki, whose flames soared into the sky, said resolutely. Wu Baihu, who was standing on top of the fire Kirin's head, let out a low growl, as if it was responding to Akatsuki's words. Now is not the time to be sentimental. Let's go. Let's go. Seeing that Akatsuki and Baihu Xiao Zhao were stubborn, Yi Fan hurriedly shouted. The woman and the fox turned around and looked at Yi Fan with determined eyes. Let's go. Yi Fan roared. The man and fox slowly turned their heads away, turning a deaf ear to Yi Fan's words. They had already made up their minds to live and die with Yi Fan. Fire Kirin, take them away. Seeing that the two of them were not listening to his advice, Yi Fan immediately gave an order to the fire Kirin standing at the edge of the cliff. Among the 4 spiritual beasts, only the fire Kirin was not directly related to Yi Fan. The spirit phoenix, moon phoenix, and golden dragon were all spirit beasts that Yi Fan had obtained through his cultivation of the ultimate art. The fire Kirin was Gue Guzi's spirit beast. Logically speaking, Yi Fan should not have put it in a dangerous situation. Roar, the 90-foot-tall fire Kirin roared as it turned its head to look at Yi Fan. Its dragon head, which was covered in spirit flames, tilted and widened its eyes. Its gaze was filled with hesitation. What? You're not listening to me anymore. Yi Fan roared at the fire Kirin. Roar, the fire Kirin hesitated for a moment before it let out a low roar. It lowered its head, opened its mouth, and held the blazing Akatsuki in its mouth. Akatsuki's soaring flames were nothing to the fire Kirin. Fire Kirin, what are you doing? Put me down. Akatsuki, who was held in the fire Kirin's mouth, struggled violently as she slapped the fire Kirin with all her might. She did not expect the fire Kirin to hold her in its mouth. Baihu Xiaozhao, who was standing on the fire Kirin's head, wanted to jump down, but it suddenly realized that it could not escape the flames on the fire Kirin's body. It was trapped on top of the fire Kirin's head. After holding Akatsuki in its mouth, the fire Kirin turned to Yi Fan. Yi Fan, ask it to put me down. Put me down. Akatsuki, who was struggling in the fire Kirin's mouth, roared loudly. Let's go. Yi Fan ignored Akatsuki and shouted at the fire Kirin. Boom. After receiving Yi Fan's order, the fire Kirin stomped its hooves on the top of Phoenix Cry Mountain and leaped into the sky. A huge ball of flames rose into the sky and instantly disappeared into the horizon. After the fire Kirin left, Yi Fan looked up at the sky. Sigil within the black cloud vortex, countless purple lightning bolts began to converge, forming a huge purple lightning ball. The lightning ball was more than 100 feet in size. Purple lightning bolts shuttled around it, and lightning lingered around it as it spun and buzzed. Its power was 100 times stronger than the previous 2 lightning tribulations. It looked like he could only take a gamble this time. As Yi Fan thought to himself, he suddenly activated the demon spirit in his primordial spirit. Boom, black, red, green, yellow, and blue flames rose from Yi Fan's body. The power of the evil demon, the power of the lustful demon, the power of the dead demon, the power of the Een demon, and the power of the heavenly demon. The 5 great powers appeared at once. After the 5 great flames appeared, they instantly condensed into a huge 5-colored skull, enveloping Yi Fan within it. Buzz, on Yi Fan's forehead, a blood-red swastika character appeared out of thin air. At the same time, Yi Fan's silver hair began to turn blood-red, and his eyes were gradually filled with a blood-red glow. The 8-treasure jade robe on his body also instantly turned bright red. He had transformed himself into the form of a demon lord. He wanted to mobilize all of his power to fight against the extremely powerful purple lightning ball above his head. 3 great spiritual beasts, 5 great divine weapons, splendid robe, demonic monarch form, and his special physical body forged by the spirit phoenix and moon phoenix. He wondered if he could withstand the heavenly lightning from the 9 heavens. Boom! In the instant that Yi Fan transformed into the form of a demon lord, the purple lightning ball in the sky suddenly expanded to 100 feet in size, as if it was a purple moon in the sky. Yi Fan increased his spiritual power, and so did the purple lightning. Kacha! Following a loud thunderclap, a 9-foot-thick purple lightning bolt struck down from the lightning ball. In an instant the entire sky was filled with purple light. It's coming! Yi Fan narrowed his blood-red eyes as he thought to himself. He thought to himself as he directly activated the power of the 5 demons. Boom! A 9-foot-thick 5-colored light beam shot up into the sky from Yi Fan's body, heading straight for the purple lightning. He wanted to use his own power to buffer the lightning's fury. The 2 light beams were extremely fast, and they instantly met in the sky. Heaven and earth were instantly connected by the 2 light beams. Whoosh! When the two forces were less than 30 feet away from each other, a figure appeared out of thin air between the two light beams. This person looked to be in his 30s, and he was wearing a coarse monk's robe. There were 9 scars on his head, and a string of Bodhi Buddhist beads hung around his neck. There was someone. Someone appeared in between the two forces. When he saw the middle-aged monk appear out of thin air, Yi Fan's pupils suddenly shrank. Who was this person? What was he trying to do? Directly appearing at the intersection of the two forces, was he tired of living? Yi Fan's blood-red eyes widened, and he turned pale with fright. However, the following scene caused him to be flabbergasted and dumbstruck. The middle-aged monk closed his eyes, put his palms together, and stood straight in between the two forces. He didn't move at all, as if he was meditating. Boom! With an earth-shattering sound, the fury of the thunder and the power of the demon lord, the two forces bombarded the middle-aged monk's body. Buzz! The purple lightning and the 5-colored demon spirit appeared on the middle-aged monk's body at the same time. Buzz, 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 the two forces flowed around the middle-aged monk at high speed, and it was extremely dazzling. He could actually withstand the simultaneous bombardment of the two forces. The scene in front of him shocked Yi Fan, who was in the demon lord state, half opened his mouth, and his face was filled with disbelief. Amit Ba! Just as Yi Fan was feeling inexplicably shocked, the middle-aged monk, who was floating in the air with his palms together, suddenly opened his eyes and chanted Buddha's name. Boom! In the instant that the middle-aged monk opened his eyes, an incomparably massive shockwave burst out from his body, rapidly dispersing in all directions. Boom! The ground shook and the weather changed. Chapter 1007. All of a sudden, the starry sky appeared, and Mingyu reappeared. What a powerful cultivation! What a domineering power! The shocking scene in front of him caused Yi Fan to be dumbstruck. It was the first time he had such an expression in his demonic lord form. Before this, he thought that his cultivation was not bad. Although it could not be said to be unparalleled in history, it could still be considered rare in the world. However, after seeing the middle-aged monk, he deeply understood what it meant to say that there was always someone better than you. He did not activate his spiritual power cultivation, nor did he use any ancient artifact. He did not even use any moves. This person simply put his palms together and closed his eyes, and he easily broke the 9th heaven thunder and his demonic lord power. Even a golden deity from the upper realm would not be able to do this. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, Yi Fan would not have believed that there was such an amazing person in the world. This person's cultivation was so high that it could be said to be unprecedented. Whoosh! Just as Yi Fan was stunned, the middle-aged monk in the sky slowly turned around. Master, please wait. Yi Fan opened his mouth and shouted. This person had helped him get rid of the calamity. Of course, he had to ask about this person's identity so that he could repay him in the future. Whoosh! Before Yi Fan could finish his words, the middle-aged monk's figure disappeared in an instant, as if he had never appeared. This person came and went without a trace. He instantly dispelled the wrath of the thunder and disappeared in an instant. He was really an eminent monk. Yi Fan exclaimed in his heart. Buzz! At the moment when the mysterious eminent monk disappeared, the golden full moon in Yi Kong's head suddenly shone with golden light. Although Yi Fan had mobilized the power of the 5 demons, and although the dark clouds and thunder were pressing down on him, Yi Fan did not stop his cultivation of the moon's shocking chapter because of this. It was not that he did not want to stop, but that he could not. The moon's shocking chapter was full of obstacles. Once it started, the cultivator could not close his chi without permission. Otherwise, it would be very easy for the spiritual power in the moon to return to the moon. In that case, he would not be able to get the strongest spiritual power from the moon in the future. The moon's shocking chapter continued. That middle-aged monk had acted just in time. When the lightning was dispelled, it happened to be the time when the full moon was filled with spiritual energy. The spiritual power of the moon was coming. Yi Fan exclaimed inwardly as he looked at the golden full moon above his head. Boom! Just as Yi Fan was feeling shocked, a 9-foot thick golden beam of light came crashing down from the full moon. The majestic aura and domineering spiritual energy were like a golden passageway that directly connected the heavens and the earth. It had to be said that Yi Fan was indeed worthy of being the ruler of the demon realm. At this critical moment, his heart was as calm as still water. In the blink of an eye, Yi Fan quickly withdrew the 5 demon spirits that had enveloped him. Buzz, Yi Fan instantly reverted to his original form. At the same time, the 8 treasures jade silk brocade robe on his body swiftly left his body. Whoosh! At the same time, the 3 spirit beasts and the 5 divine weapons retreated 90 feet away. Boom! The moment the spirit beasts and divine weapons scattered to avoid the attack, the rapidly descending golden beam of spiritual energy blasted directly onto Yi Fan's body. Bang! In an instant, the golden light around Yi Fan's body burst out, forming a huge golden ball of light. The ball of light was 90 feet in size. The golden light was dazzling and dazzling, like a small sun. Sizzle! 9 moon-green lightning bolts swam around the golden ball of light at high speed, making sizzling sounds. At this moment, the peak of Phoenix Cry Mountain was completely covered by the golden light. In the dazzling golden light, Yi Fan stared nervously at the golden ball of light, not daring to be careless. Although the domineering spiritual power of the moon had already enveloped his body, this was not the key point of the moon's shocking chapter. Because next, the golden ball of spiritual energy would shrink rapidly and enter his Qi Si. At that time, it would be the most crucial point. To compress the 90-feet ball of spiritual energy into the size of a pigeon's egg and enter his Qi Si, one could imagine the impact that Yi Fan's Qi Si would have to endure. If he could bear it, Yi Fan would obtain all the power of the moon's shocking chapter, and his cultivation would increase exponentially. If he could not bear it, Yi Fan's body would be directly crushed by the domineering spiritual power of the moon's shocking chapter. At that time, all the spiritual power in Yi Fan's body would return to heaven and earth because there would be no physical body to hold it. This was the most frightening part of this obstacle. As for whether his Qi Si could bear the impact of the new spiritual power, to be honest, Yi Fan was not confident in his heart. Every time he increased his cultivation, he had to take a huge risk. The greater the risk, the greater the power he would gain. He needed power now, so no matter how big the risk was, he had to go forward. In other words, he was taking a gamble. Gambling on his luck, gambling on his life. Buzz. Buzz, as Yi Fan was thinking in his heart, the huge golden ball of light enveloping his body suddenly spun rapidly. At the same time, the dazzling golden ball of light shrunk rapidly. Whoosh! As the spiritual pressure increased rapidly, the golden ball of light that was 90 feet in size was instantly compressed into a golden light bead the size of a pigeon egg. The golden light bead was full of vibrant colors, and the golden light burst out explosively. Thousands of golden light beams shot out, piercing Yi Fan's eyes painfully. Whoosh! The golden light bead flashed and went straight into Yi Fan's Qi Si. Once the golden light bead entered his body, Yi Fan's empty Qi Si was immediately opened up completely. Whoosh! Countless golden light beams shot out from the Qi Si, illuminating all of Yi Fan's internal organs, meridians, and even the blood in his body. The domineering spiritual pressure released directly impacted Yi Fan's body, causing it to expand by 3 times. In an instant, Yi Fan's body swelled and twisted, and his facial features were severely distorted. The new spiritual power that entered his body was too strong. Even if this body was created by the Spirit Phoenix and the Moon Phoenix, it was still impacted to the point that it did not look human. Ah! The distorted Yi Fan screamed in pain. Huff! Huff, at the same time that Yi Fan shouted, his body continued to expand. His Qi had already expanded from the size of a fist to a foot. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two great inner cores in his Qi were knocked around by the domineering spiritual pressure, and light splashed everywhere. Yi Fan was originally 7 feet tall, but now he was close to 10 feet tall, and this was under the condition of sitting cross-legged. If this continued, it would not be long before his body was directly shattered by the domineering spiritual power of the Moon Shock chapter. Ugh! Seeing Yi Fan's body expanding and screaming in pain, the cyan moon phoenix hovering in the air suddenly let out a resounding phoenix cry. Cyan light circulated around its wings, and it flew down from the sky. Whoosh! The moon phoenix's speed was extremely fast, and it instantly rushed into Yi Fan's chest. It wanted to help Yi Fan control the new spiritual power. After entering Yi Fan's chest, the moon phoenix spread its wings, and used its wings to encircle the severely distorted Qi. It wanted to use the moon phoenix's power to stop the expansion of the Qi. As long as the Qi was protected, Yi Fan's life would not be in danger. However, the Moon Shock chapter's spiritual power was too strong. Although the moon phoenix's spiritual power was rare, it paled in comparison to the new spiritual power. Buzz! The tightly closed pair of phoenix wings began to be gradually opened by the golden brilliance. Ugh! The moon phoenix cried, and the cyan light around its body shone brightly. It wanted to go all out. The resounding phoenix cry made the rainbow spirit phoenix hovering in the air above Yi Fan feel the moon phoenix's predicament. At this time, it did not have much time to think. It also retracted its wings and plunged into Yi Fan's body. It wanted to help. Buzz! After entering Yi Fan's body, the rainbow spirit phoenix directly activated the spiritual power of Phoenix Dance's 9th heaven. It spread its phoenix wings and also encircled Yi Fan's distorted Qi. Spirit Phoenix, Moon Phoenix. The two spirit birds used the yin and yang spiritual powers to suppress the new spiritual power. Under the combined efforts of the two spirit birds, Yi Fan's Qi stopped expanding. But even so, the new spiritual power was still strong and could not be defeated by the two spirit birds. Seeing that the two spirit birds could barely suppress the new spiritual power, the golden dragon 9 meters away moved. Roar! The golden dragon let out a tyrannical roar, then turned its body and shrunk the encirclement. At the same time, the golden dragon shone brightly, and its spiritual pressure rose sharply. The rising golden light quickly enveloped Yi Fan's body. It wanted to use the spiritual pressure of dragon traversing the heavens to help Yi Fan suppress the new spiritual power. Dragon traversing the heavens was worthy of being the 4th stage of the mysterious sky secret technique. With the golden dragon's help, Yi Fan's expanded body began to gradually recover. The two spirit birds, Spirit Phoenix and Moon Phoenix, had also gradually suppressed the Qi that had expanded several times. The 3 spirit beasts worked together to help Yi Fan control the new spiritual power in his body. Whoosh! Under the powerful spiritual pressure of the 3 spirit beasts, the violent golden spiritual power began to move rapidly through Yi Fan's meridians. The golden spiritual power was extremely fast, and in a flash, it had filled up all of Yi Fan's meridians. After moving through the meridians, the golden spiritual power slowly returned to the Qi. Buzz! The moment the golden spiritual power returned to the Qi, thousands of bright golden lights burst out from Yi Fan's body. Yi Fan's silver hair flew up, and he let out a long roar. At this time, his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth had been completely swallowed by the golden light. In the long roar, the Spirit Phoenix and Moon Phoenix flashed and returned to the Qi. The tyrannical golden dragon also flew back to Yi Fan's back and turned into a golden tyrant dragon pattern. Boom! After the 3 spirit beasts returned, a huge golden flame shot out from Yi Fan's body and into the sky. The proud moon heavenly scriptures moon shocking chapter and the mysterious sky secret techniques dragon traversing the heavens were all cultivated by Yi Fan. Buzz. A blood-red light instantly lit up from the crescent moon pattern on Yi Fan's back. Hua! The blood-red light began to devour the crescent moon pattern. When it was halfway through, the blood-red light stopped flowing and slowly stopped whoosh. After the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, a ball of red light appeared from the horizon and flew towards Phoenix Cry Mountain. Yi Fan. Yi Fan. In the flame, Akatsuki held the Fire Kirin's dragon horn and shouted loudly. Seeing the black clouds in the sky quickly dissipating, she immediately urged the Fire Kirin to turn around and go back the way they came. She urgently wanted to know Yi Fan's safety. Seeing that the black clouds had dissipated, the Fire Kirin agreed to Akatsuki's request. In its heart it was also worried about Yi Fan. The Fire Kirin, which was covered in flames, was extremely fast and quickly rushed to the sky above Phoenix Cry Mountain. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.